we initiate chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only wakes us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness, only another. It's full steam ahead, full steam ahead. All about the Petty Express, misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Petty Express. In a beautiful darkness.
Now, just a quick reminder that I am dual streaming for both views. So if you see me and it's not the normal view that you have on, look at the title of the stream that you're watching. If it has a little cell phone icon, you're on vertical. And if you don't want to watch like that, then horizontal stream is normal. Just look for the stream without the little cell phone tag. And we are still on cross-examination of Ariel, the soon-to-be ex-wife, by the defense attorney. We are getting to the fact that Ariel did not turn down a trip to South Africa with the alleged emotional affair partner, and that she was actually had the audacity to switch her hotel plans to the same hotel in South Africa that this gentleman was going to be staying at too. I don't believe the defense is scoring any points on this. Again, from other impressions. And thank you so much, Beach Girl. And I apologize for the super chats that I didn't get to. I appreciate them so much. I do. Oh, and congratulations on Ronan. Good luck. Everything crossed. So I apologize for not reading those out. I have made a couple notes on where I can improve the next time I have someone on. So thank you guys so much for hanging with me on my first one. And I think it went pretty well, but there are some things that I could improve on. And another normal mom. This case is basically, it is a pretty simple case. It's a he said, she said. Now, the defendant in this case claims that he and his wife were engaged in mutual combat near a cliff, where the victim in this case and the state claim that Gerhard attempted to push his wife off a cliff after attempting to inject her with a syringe. Gerhard is a anesthesiologist by trade. So this is a really interesting case. The defense here is quite aggressive with a very sympathetic witness. Again, Ariel Koenig is the victim. Again, there's not really an argument about the fact that he hit her with a rock. The defense's argument is that it was mutual combat and that Ariel had tried to throw Gehrig off the side of the cliff first. Now, the state is saying that no, Gerhard attacked Ariel. So this is Ariel. Well, I didn't say it made sense, J.K.D. Buck. He used a rock as a self-defense weapon against a smaller person who's a woman. Make that make sense? Yeah, it doesn't. And the defense attorney is being an incredible douchebag. Now, a little bit of background. Ariel does admit to, and Gerhard found out that Ariel was engaging in an emotional affair. They both agreed that, definitionally it was a breach of trust and that she, had crossed the line and broken Gerhard's trust. The defense attorney has basically spent 2 hours getting Ariel to admit that she had an emotional affair. It's not been a good cross-examination.
Mr. Miller was going to be at, correct?
Correct, sir.
And in fact, on that trip, you had changed your hotel to be in the same hotel as Mr. Miller, correct?
And several other Terra Power employees, yes, sir.
Your job was, well, I'm going to get into it more in a second, but your job is pretty rare and unique, right? Like you were in the nuclear energy field, correct?
I still am, yes, sir.
Yeah, but at the time, right, when he was talking to you about quitting and leaving it, right?
Yes.
You talked about his need for intimacy, both emotional and physical. He indicated that he wanted to have sex.
That's another thing that's incredibly off-putting about the defense in this case, because there is a story you could tell where this emotional affair and her unwillingness to work on the marriage caused him to have a fit of passion. You can make that argument, but to actually state in your defense that not only is it the victim's fault because she was unfaithful, but she was unwilling to sleep with him because of the marital problems, it it's really an ick tactic. I don't know how they thought that this was going to come across as anything good. I do understand that a lot of men's, love language does involve physical touch. It's a way they feel seen in a relationship and experience love. Most men, physical touch is part of the way they, receive love. That being said, for women, it's not just an act. It has to, there have to be feelings involved. There has to be a level of comfort. And the fact that Gerhard wanted her to do this as like a sign of loyalty, it's not really a good look. And I don't know why they decided to add this to their defense.
The other day, correct?
That's correct.
And he also wanted you to be less, I guess, secretive or give up some privacy, and he wanted to see your emails and communications, correct?
He looked through my phone almost every day. Yes, sir.
And in fact, these were not just desires that were unique to him. You listen to audiobooks, like, for example, How to Help My Spouse Heal with My Affair, right?
Yes, sir.
And in that book, they recommend cutting off all contact with your affair partner, yes?
To my recollection, yes.
They recommend that you share passwords, share your whereabouts, share communications, because secrecy is what caused the damage, openness is what repairs it, right? You remember learning things like that in these books and counseling?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's what Gerhard was asking for, right? He wanted to see what you were, just see what you were messaging with others, right?
In some cases, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, back to your career, ma'am. You mentioned him talking to you about quitting your job so that you wouldn't have contact with Mr. Miller anymore. You're a nuclear engineer, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You graduated from and got your degree in nuclear engineering in what year?
2011.
And after 2011 until about 2022, you worked in this nuclear industry, yes?
I've been in the nuclear industry my entire career, yes.
I understand that. I
Where are we going with this, Cletus? I'm going to need you to Carmen Sandiego the way to a daggone point. She's a nuclear engineer. The fact that Gerhard wanted her to quit her job is an overreaction. Again, I get that trust was lost, but for the love of Cheetos, this is not a good job.
I understand. I'm just saying specifically for 11 years, from 2011 to 2022, you were in the nuclear industry, yes?
Yes, I don't understand the 2022 distinction. I apologize.
Well, I'm going to get to that. Didn't you quit your job in 2022?
I left Westinghouse in 2022, yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's the distinction I'm getting at.
Sure. Thank you for clarifying.
So in 2011, you enter into this industry and you start working.
And I'm not saying that there isn't ever a need to be, assertive or aggressive or sometimes, downright tenacious with a witness, but this woman is not match energies. He is so aggressive when she is just asking for clarification. It's for the love of Cheetos. He's just so irritating.
At a company called Westinghouse, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And you were into, is it called core design?
Yes, sir.
And what is core design?
Core design is figuring out how to load nuclear fuel assemblies into the reactor core in a way that meets the safety requirements and optimizes fuel efficiency.
Okay. And again, I'm not too sure what you said, but basically it's dealing with nuclear fuel, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you were helping to do that at Westinghouse, correct?
That was one of the jobs I had at Westinghouse at that time.
Yeah. And you were trying to move up the corporate ladder, right? You're trying to advance in the industry, yes?
Yes, in general.
Yeah. And like, so for example, in 2018, you entered a MBA executive program to try and get your MBA because you thought that might help you move up in this field, correct?
It wasn't an executive MBA program. I was doing a part-time MBA after work. I'm only making that distinction because they're two different programs.
Okay, I thought that's what an executive MBA program is where you still work and do it at night, but maybe
They're separate ones. They're separate things. That's more focused and faster.
Understood. So it's more accurate to say you entered an MBA program that allowed you to work during the day and go to school at night.
That's correct, sir.
And the purpose was to try and get your degree advance in the field, yes?
It was to develop in the role I was in. I was doing more business facing position at the time, and it was thought that MBA would help me develop those skills a little bit more.
Okay. And then after doing that, in 2022, you quit, right? I mean, I'm sorry, what's the wording you like to use? You left your job at Westinghouse.
I quit Westinghouse. That's
In
okay.
2022, and part of that was, it was, you didn't feel it was the right fit, you're trying to move up, there wasn't opportunities, you thought it'd be best to just leave and focus on your kids, correct?
No, sir, I wouldn't characterize it that way.
Okay. But you end up leaving Westinghouse, yes?
I did leave Westinghouse, but for different reasons.
And when you left Westinghouse, there was it around shortly thereafter? Well, when you left Westinghouse, you didn't have another job lined up, correct?
I was in the late stages of another job that fell through, yes.
Okay, and then that job fell through, right?
Correct, yes.
And so when you left Westinghouse, it was after that this conversation, because at this time you guys were living in Pittsburgh, yes?
That's correct, sir.
And it was after that you guys decided maybe it'd be best to move, yes?
Yes, sir.
And you guys even looked at moving to Australia, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And you knew that moving to Australia would make it hard for you to continue on in this nuclear energy field, yes?
I don't think the potential move to Australia was driving career decisions necessarily, but that would have been a complicating factor for sure.
Yeah, moving to Australia would have been a complicating factor, and you guys were considering it, right?
That's right. But they do have like uranium trading and things.
And then you guys end up settling on Maui, correct?
That's correct. Or on Hawaii at the time, yeah.
Hawaii and then Maui, yes?
Correct, sir.
And part of that, well, the timing of that, you mentioned your stepson Emil, that's Gerhard's son, yes?
He's my stepson, Gerhard's son from a previous marriage, yes.
Yeah, your stepson, his biological son, yes?
That's correct, sir.
And the timing of that, the reason you guys can move sooner than you planned is because Emil was willing to move to Hawaii with his dad and you, correct?
Just to clarify, our original plan was to stay in Pittsburgh until Mel graduated high school.
Right.
And then he said he would be willing to move depending on where we went, and so we were able to move to Hawaii sooner. I just want to make sure we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, we are. So in other words, Emil wanted to come with his dad and you, right?
Yes, he wanted to come with us.
So
Let's see. A teenager wanting to move from Pittsburgh to Hawaii. Yeah, I'm sure fatherly love was the only thing that, took care of that one. I'm sure the overriding idea was fatherly love and paternal, closeness, not I'm moving from Pittsburgh to Hawaii.
now, at some point, you get moved to Maui, and then this opportunity with Terra Power comes up, correct?
No, sir, I was employed by Terra Power when I lived in Pittsburgh.
Okay. But after you quit the Westinghouse job, right?
Yes, I quit Westinghouse, and I was hired by a contract agency called System One, and on contract to Terra Power starting that September.
Okay. But when you move to Maui, you're a contractor for Terra Power. You're not an actual employee of Terra Power, correct?
That's correct.
And that was in part because you weren't going to live in Seattle. You were going to live in Maui, yes?
In part, Terra Power has a distributed workforce, and so depending on the location, they would either be contract employees or they would be full-time employees, is the word you mean for working for Terra Power directly.
And you were contract because you were going to live in Maui.
I was contract because I lived in Pittsburgh at the time, and then they kept me on contract when I moved to Maui.
Let me rephrase. You were on contract because you didn't live in Seattle, right?
Yes.
Okay. But Terra Power was designing new age nuclear power plants that use a new type of fuel.
I don't know why, but the older Asian attorney is setting me off. He's like, dishonor on you, dishonor on your family.
But Terra Power was designing new age nuclear power plants that use a new type of fuel, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And your role there or your job there was a project manager, is that right?
That's correct.
So now you are in a management position within this industry, yes?
Project management.
Yeah, in the nuclear energy industry, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's what project.
And you had worked hard through 11 years to get to this point, and you thought it was a good opportunity, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, we just talked about Gerhard, when he found out about this, talking to you about leaving, so you wouldn't be around Mr. Miller, correct?
That came up, I recall one time that came up. That didn't seem like a key point of the discussion to me.
But you didn't want to quit your job at Target.
That's correct. I did not want to quit my job. I like my job.
Again, no. I get that it's such a big ask. It's such a big ask of someone. And it seems a bit disproportionate. Again, the proportionality of sharing your email, sharing the text messages after a breach of trust makes sense to me. Making someone quit a job that they've worked very hard for seems disproportionate and controlling.
Do you now work directly for TerraPower?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, so you're no longer a contractor. You now have a direct job with TerraPower, yes?
That's correct, sir.
And what is your job title now?
Product manager for Halo.
Product manager, and that's a step up from project manager, yes?
Not necessarily. I'm not a TerraPower.
Okay. But now you're a direct employee of TerraPower.
I am, yes, sir.
And to obtain that,
Velusa 1, I can't figure out what his path to even getting to discrediting victim testimony with background not remotely related to facts to the offense charged. He's talking about the fact that she wouldn't quit her job. So the defense is trying to go with these three kind of prongs. She was unfaithful, unwilling, and untruthful. And basically, the unfaithful, she was having that, but she was also unwilling to sleep with Gerhard and quit her job or do some of the sacrifices that Gerhard thought that she should to maintain their relationship. So it very much feels like, again, a defense that Sarah Boone would have used. This doesn't feel like a very solid strategy that an objective lawyer who wanted to win this case would use.
have you committed to move to Seattle at some point?
No, sir.
Okay. But did they change their setup where now you cannot be there and be a full-time employee?
They did, and they have several arrangements with different personnel for that.
Okay. So you didn't want to quit your job. You're still at TerraPower to this day, now as product manager, yes?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And you still travel for work and go to Seattle at times, yes?
Yes, sir.
Now, at some point you mentioned engaging in counseling, yes? After the discovery of this communications with Ms. Gerhardt's discovery of your communications with Mr. Miller, right? You guys started couples counseling, yes?
Yes, sir.
And as you indicated, the counseling wasn't just about the affair; it became about the relationship, and you mentioned, his need for intimacy, and it was about the relationship, not just the issues with Mr. Miller, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And you mentioned January into February, you felt you guys are making some progress, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
But the issue with Mr. Miller would still come up from time to time, yes?
Occasionally, I would say occasionally at that time. I have a hard time recalling that in February.
Okay. And this issue of the discovery of these things prior to December, generally you describe your marriage as a good marriage, right?
Yes, sir.
So now we're heading into March and going through counseling, trying to work through it. And your birthday's coming up, yes?
Yes, sir.
And ma'am, the concept of going on a staycation to Oahu for your birthday, it was actually your idea, yes?
No, I didn't want to travel. I was saying I wanted to stay with the kids, but I did say Oahu would be fun sometime. And he was like, well, let's go to Oahu.
Okay, so you remember being interviewed?
You dastardly woman, you wanted to go to Oahu, you done it to yourself. Where is he going with this?
By the detective in this case after the incident.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember being asked by the detective who planned this trip? And you remember your response was, he planned the trip. He was kind of asking what I wanted to do for my birthday. And I said, like, sometime I want to go to Oahu. It doesn't need to be now. You remember saying that to the detective?
That sounds accurate. Yes, sir.
So at least that's what my question was. The concept of going to Oahu was something that you brought up, right? And you said, it doesn't need to be now, but I've always wanted to go there on a staycation. It doesn't need to be now. And he said, oh, let's go, right?
Sure, yes.
It's not like out of the blue, he said, hey, we're going on this trip. It's going to be on Oahu. This is what's happening. You raised the concept, yes?
The title is Demon Doctor ? Because Gerhard, the defendant on trial, is an anesthesiologist. It seems like he has the personality to work with people who are unconscious, so yeah, so it's her fault because she had the idea. Well, yeah, it's more accurate than the demon dentist. I got the dentist, from Texas mixed up with the doctor from Hawaii. There's a lot of trials going on. And tonight, I am wanting to look at the hearing for the FedEx, while we're here. So tonight, I am going to be doing a, speed watch of the Texas FedEx, trial. Basically, it is the trial with Athena. Oh gosh, I forgot. Grand. Uh, Basically, the defendant in that case has pled guilty to taking the life of Athena on November 30th, 2022. After delivering a package to her home, he took her in the FedEx van and then um, unalived her and discarded her body about 10 miles from her home. His court or his case, or his trial was supposed to start yesterday. He has pled guilty, so now the rest of the trial will be the jury deciding whether he faces capital punishment, i.e., Old Sparky, or if he gets life without parole. Now, it will be after dark because it's gonna be a rough one, you guys. It's not going to be easy. We are going to be listening to audio of the incident. He did cover the camera, but this little girl fought her behind off, and it's a hard trial. It's not one for everyone, but I am gonna honor the fact that she fought her little heart out, and roast the hell out of her monster. So if you wanna hang out with me, while we're doing that, I will be putting up a stream for that, a little later today. So I'll probably shoot for around 7:30 tonight, Eastern Time. And we should be able to get through at least the first, bit of, seeing him plead and things like that. But that's what we're going to be doing, in the evenings. I know kiddo cases are not everyone's cups of tea, but that is one that I think, we can do after dark and maybe be a little more, angry about.
I raised the concept of wanting to go to a walk at some point yesterday, that's correct.
In response to him asking what you wanted to do for your birthday, right?
Potentially, I don't recall that.
Is that what you told the detective?
I think you and I are interpreting that differently.
I'm not asking about interpretation. I'm asking about the words you use to the detective.
Can I get things on the page in line?
Sure. This is exhibit 107, page 5, lines 13 through 15, D107. Ma'am, when the detective asked you who planned this trip, your response was he planned the trip. He was kind of asking what I wanted to do for my birthday, and I said, sometime I want to go to Oahu, but it doesn't need to be now. That's just the words you said to the
Yes,
detective.
you and I agree on that, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
It's a pedantic again, there there are some points in law where you need to be incredibly persnickety, where and or can change an entire meaning of a contract. But this lawyer is purposely misconstruing everything she's saying to make her look dishonest, and she's conceding every point. It's not a good look. It is incredibly disingenuous, and he looks like a jerk.
Now, you mentioned the hike, and I think you said that you only learned about the hike the night before once you were already on the trip. Is that right?
About which specific hike we went on.
Okay, but you knew you were going to go on a hike, right?
We didn't have, aside from having planned to do the spa and shop around, a hike was kind of up in the air. I don't know that we had, before leaving now, we definitively settled on going on a hike. So yeah.
But the concept of going on a hike came up. That's why you brought stuff, shoes and clothes to go hiking, right?
Yes, like I said.
And in fact, hiking it was not unusual for you guys to go on hikes. That's something you guys did from time to time, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you only tried to push her off a cliff once.
Okay, may I approach with exhibits D158, D160, and D154?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm gonna approach. I'm gonna ask you to, I'm gonna hand you D158. Can you, is that a,
During closing statements, jury, yet again I tell you, she was unfaithful. She wouldn't sleep with him, and she wanted to go on a hike. They'd been hiking everywhere. He's only tried to throw her off one cliff. I rest my case.
what is that a photo of? That's a photo of you and Gerhard on a hike, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of you and Gerhard on this hike?
Yes, sir.
And this was on apparently June 2023 in Wailuku. Well, at least the top it says Wailuku, right?
That's what it says at the top. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may we admit D158?
Mr. Mark, no, Judge. What has been marked for identification?
Here's a D160. This is, well, just one page. Is that a photo of you guys on a hike as well?
Yes, sir, it is.
May we admit D,
If they've been to Cabela's, what in the hell? If the woman stepped into a Bass Pro Shop to get a pair of hiking shoes, she brought it on herself? What the hell is going on here? Well, Squid, I mean, they've been hiking before, and she's always managed to be alive. Really, the only common factor here is she's asking for things. Did the defense thought about this? He sat down and thought, this is going to go great.
D160.
Mr. Webb. There's a date for that, right?
The date says, at least on the top, it says September 11, 2023, yes?
Yes, it does.
No, Judge.
And then lastly,
Then what has been marked for identification as exhibit D160 is received into evidence.
and then lastly, thank you, Your Honor. Lastly, this is D154. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of a photo of you on a hike as well?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Okay. Thank you. May we admit D154, please?
Mr. Warner. No, Judge. What has been marked for identification as exhibit D154 is also received into evidence.
So again, before we publish this, it wasn't unusual for you guys to go on hikes. That's something you guys did together, right?
That's correct, yes.
No, another normal mom, I'm sure this has been asked, I apologize, but why would a doctor carry a needle and juice on a hike? That is an interesting question. And of all the state's case, that is the one part that doesn't fit for me. And I get that crimes aren't logical, but of all the things and kind of the personality traits and the tight control that Gerhard has shown in other areas of his life, it doesn't seem logical that he wouldn't have pre-filled the syringes. I can completely, buy that he would have gotten some maybe medication from, the hospital anesthesiology, maybe a paralytic or a relaxant. But what doesn't make sense to me is him not having those syringes loaded. So that's the part of the story that really doesn't make sense to me. And that's the hardest part of the state's case for me to buy, simply because the state's already admitted in their opening statement that they didn't find any evidence of the vials or the syringes. Now, they do make the good point that Gerhard was left on the mountain to dispose of those for 5 hours. I don't believe anyone was diabetic. And she didn't really get a good look at the vial, so she wasn't sure what exactly was in there.
Can we publish 158, please? Okay. And up on the screen, can we blow that up a little, Mr. Dirks? That's you and Gerhard on a hike, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we publish 160, please? Okay, another picture of the two of you on a hike, correct?
I'm not sure that Gerhard is in that photo. I'm in there.
Okay.
It's dark.
Okay. Do you think maybe Gerhard took the photo? Okay, and then let's go to page 154. That's also a hike you would have done with Gerhard, yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, we can take those down. Now, the day of the trip comes, and you guys go to the airport on Maui, presumably together, yes?
Yes, sir, with you.
And isn't it true that you, because it was a short trip, you didn't check bags, you just carried on luggage, right?
Most likely, yes, I don't recall, but most likely.
And you would have gone through TSA security screening with Gerhard, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's not like he went first through the TSA screening, and then later on you came and met him there. You guys went through the screening together, put your bags through the screening together at the same time, correct?
I would assume so, yes, sir.
And no problems getting through TSA that day, correct?
As of day 3, they haven't yet. Now, I am basing the possibility of there being a paralytic or an analgesic or something in there because of him being an anesthesiologist. But that being said, there are, perfectly legitimate reasons to have syringes. I've had times in my life where I've had, prescribed intermuscular injections that I would have to give myself. So it just, and maybe the defense lawyer is finally getting to a point where he's going to make the point that TSA would have looked at their luggage, and should Gerhard have had syringes in a vial, they would have maybe said something. Maybe we are finally getting to a point.
Not that I recall, sir.
You get to Oahu, and the first day and night, as you indicated, you guys are having a fine time, right?
Yes, sir.
Go to the spa, go to dinner, and everything seems fine, right?
Yes, sir.
The next day is your birthday, right?
That's correct, sir.
And you wake up, and the prosecutor admitted a letter that Gerhard gave you. I want to read it now since it wasn't read earlier, okay?
Objection to argument, well,
We'll let the jury see it now, okay? So the birthday card, in addition to that, he gave you a gift, right?
Yes, sir.
And it was a nice necklace, yes?
Yes, sir. He gave me a necklace.
Okay. So with the card, that morning of your birthday, he gives you this nice birthday card, and he gives you a nice gift before you guys head out on the hike, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is so incredibly gross. This is, I cannot tell you how much this grates against every part of me as a woman. And it's the allusion to, he's a good provider. He gave you stuff. Okay, what did you say to him that made you, get a black eye? Again, well, did you burn the dinner? What did you do to set him off? It's this attitude of, he's doing the best he can. Can't you just be there is something so incredibly off-putting, and if there are any women on the jury, I cannot tell you how incredibly off-putting this entire cross has been, but especially this particular part right here. If anyone has ever been in an abusive relationship, male or female, there's that period where you get the honeymoon period. You get oh, he's a great guy. He's so good. And they can do and put the mask on in public, and people are like, why would you ever leave that person? They're so good. It rubs me. It is like nails on a chalkboard, and the defense has just now made their defendant guilty. If there are any women on the jury.
And 1 second, Your Honor, if we could, it's a similar. We have it as T127, but I think this is the one you need. Do you have a problem with this? I can't believe it. No. This is yeah, is it in here? Okay. May I retrieve the exhibit?
Yes.
With the card, I don't know what number it is, sorry. Oh, thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
I'm approaching with S133 already in evidence. Ma'am, can you please read that out loud to the jury? This is the letter that Gerhard wrote to you on the morning of this hike. Well, let me rephrase that. This is the letter he gave to you on the morning of the hike, correct?
This is the birthday card you gave me.
Okay, please read it to the jury.
It says, "Happy birthday. Angel face, there isn't an obstacle in this world too hard for me to fight through for you. I would take on anything just to see you smile. You're one of the kindest, most giving, and selfless people I know. putting others before yourself with so much love. You have the heart of our family, and the heart is strong. Fine, fearless, and a terrific mom. The kids and I get to jump out with you. Love, always, G.
Okay, now, Coach. Okay, so that's the card he gave you the morning of the.
That is such a dick move. Again, I think YouTube is having issues. I am not sure what's going on. I thought YouTube was having an issue or StreamYard, but maybe both are having wonkiness because the chat's been a little wonky. To make her have to read that card, that was vile.
Hike, right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, in addition to the card and the present he gave you, you were aware that he had made a reservation for dinner that night, the night of the hike, at a restaurant called Fett Restaurant. You knew that, yes?
I knew we had dinner reservations. That was the extent of it.
So you knew that the night you're supposed to go on a hike in a day, and you knew that he had made reservations for dinner somewhere.
I don't give two craps in a handbasket. The fact he made reservation kind of goes out the wayside after he beat her on. So I have both vertical and horizontal. So if the little stream or the title has the cell phone icon, then you're on the cell phone. If you want to watch it on the regular horizontal, just look for the title that doesn't have the little cell phone emoji in it. Yeah. If he got a reservation, you must.
That night, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you didn't know it was at Fett?
Correct.
Okay. Now, after you guys went downstairs, had coffee in the morning, yes?
You ridiculous defense attorney. Did you go to the Kathy Nestor School of rejection? I mean, art-tardedness? I mean, I've seen some latent French stuff, to quote Baker, but this is the latest and most French thing I have seen in a while. Well, I mean, he made reservations. How dare you accuse him of hitting you with a rock and attempting to red rum you? He made reservations. Again, it's like we've gone back to the 1950s where, so what if, the lady of the house has to wear sunglasses and long sleeves every once in a while? He has a really good house and he cares for the children, so she should just be quiet and roll with it. As a woman who came from a long, strong line of women who said, screw that shit. And that goes for dudes that have to wear sunglasses and long sleeves too. No one gets their hands laid out on.
We had coffee and breakfast in the room.
And then you head to the hike, correct?
We went and got a coffee on the way out to a different place.
Okay, and then you had drive to the hike in your rental car, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Now, this topic of life insurance came up, and the prosecutor showed you one email, but during this time period, you mentioned Gerhard was the one that kind of managed the insurance, finances, taxes, things like that, correct?
Government managed our finances, that's correct.
Pretty anal guy, yeah, in terms of managing that stuff, right? Kept records, had documents about retirement, and that's just how he was, right, during your marriage, yes?
He was a good record keeper, yes.
Yeah. And so, leading up to March, he, as part of you guys working through this issue, right, as part of we're going to be together, there was a discussion about, increasing life insurance for both of you in case something happened, to make sure that the kids were okay and the house could be paid and things like that, right?
That's correct, yes.
And in fact, he suggested that he would increase his life insurance to over $1 million, 1.5 million, correct?
I don't remember the amount of his, but the rationale is correct. We looked at how much money we would need to keep our kids in our home, and based on our pay disparity, he would need a higher life insurance policy than I would need.
Yeah, and so you remember telling the detective that yours was closer to 100 and his was closer to $1 million?
Yes.
Okay. So the effort to do this, he made it a point to make his way more than yours, correct?
Again, based on that rationale, yes.
Yes, because he makes more. That's typically how it goes. Life insurance is to, take over for the lost income if someone should die. Also, I wouldn't be bringing up life insurance. Like, look, he had more life insurance. Uno reverse. In fact, she was trying to kill him.
the morning of the hike, prior to heading to the hike, Gerhard showed you an email from that morning showing that the second half of his increased life insurance had been confirmed and put into effect that very morning. Remember him showing you that email?
I do not, sir.
Would seeing that email from that morning help to refresh your memory?
Potentially, I'll look at it, sure.
May I approach? I'm not going to get it. D116, Your Honor. I'm going to show you this email. And I'm going to ask you if you recall seeing that the morning of the hike. And when you're done reading it, hand it back to me, and we'll read it to yourself and hand it back to me.
Do you want me to read the email?
No,
Oh, okay.
I want you to read it to yourself, and then I'm going to ask you a question when you're done.
I also don't like, and maybe it's just a personality thing, but when he stands to the side and he doesn't even cant to talk to her, the fact that he asks her questions without looking at her, I find incredibly dismissive. And again, your entire attitude has been that of an asshole and a dismissive jerk. So while there could be an incredibly, benign reason for you standing that way, it is going to appear that you are a standoff jerk who is, again, berating a woman who had, I think, did she say 37 stitches in her head? I'm sorry. It's a bad look.
So do you recall Gerhard showing you this email about increased life insurance on the morning of the hike?
I'm sorry, I don't recall that.
Okay. You arrive at the Poly Lookout parking lot at mid-morning, maybe around 10 a.m., yes?
Yes, a little earlier.
And when you got there, it was a busy parking lot. There was the Poly Lookout there. There was a lot of cars, tour buses, and people in the parking lot, yes?
It wasn't that busy when we first got there. There were definitely other people there.
Now, like tour buses?
I don't remember tour buses when we got there, but I can't say for sure, sir.
But there was a lot of people there, right?
Yes, yep.
You mentioned going to the lookout first and then going to start the hike, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Not too far into the hike, Gerhard leaves you on the trail and he heads up further on the trail on his own, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And you mentioned today that was because you weren't feeling good about the heights and the cliffs and the heights. You didn't feel good. You didn't want to go on, yes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You guys have been on hikes and activities involving heights before, yes?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'm showing defense counsel D147, 149, and 156.
Oh my God, they are legitimately he's making the argument that she's been near heights before and he hasn't pushed her off, therefore he's innocent. I thought that was a joke. I was making that as like a stupid joke thing I would do, as a non-lawful law lawyer. He is legitimately making the argument that, hey, they've been on high places and he's never pushed her off before.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Ma'am, you take a look at D147. That's a photo of you and a friend going ziplining, correct?
That's correct.
Is that Gianna?
Yes, it is, sir.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of you and your best friend Gianna?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, move to admit D147.
Sorry.
Mr. Warner.
Your Honor, she can't handle it. She's ziplined. Therefore, she is a lying whore. I rest my case. What is this trial? What is this trial?
No, what the mark for identification as exhibit D147 is received into evidence.
I'll trade with you. Give me that one back, please.
Sure, sir.
D149, is that a picture of you on a zip line?
Look, I'm just saying Lee Harvey Oswald would ask for Jack Ruby again if he got saddled with Nestor. Change my mind. He'd be begging for Jack Ruby to be his defense attorney.
Yes, sir, it is.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of you on a zip line?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, move to admit D149.
Mr. Recording. No objection. And
Lastly,
lastly, has been marked for identification as exhibit D149 is received into evidence.
And lastly, D156. Ma'am, is that a photo of you on a hike?
Yes, sir, it is.
Move to admit D156.
Mr. Recording. No objection. What has been marked for identification as D156 is received into evidence.
Let's start, please, with publishing D147. we were just talking about that day not feeling good about the heights and whatnot. This is a picture of you and Gianna going ziplining, yes?
Yes, sir.
This is before this incident, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go to
Look what she has on. There's all these safety things and there's these harnesses. And when she was near the cliff with her husband, there weren't. I think I've deduced the reason she's not afraid of heights in this situation.
D149, please. That's a picture of you on the zip line, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go to 156. That's a picture of you on a hike from 2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you were willing to stand there and take a picture that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, you take that down. So on this day, you're saying not feeling good about the heights, and that's what caused Gerhard to go off on his own because you were going to stay back, correct?
That's why I stopped hiking. Yes, sir.
But you do acknowledge that he left you on this trail, not very far in from the parking lot, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, you say today to this jury that you told him, I'm just going to wait here for you, right?
That's correct, sir.
And you're on the road today, right?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true when the detective interviewed you about this situation, when he gets back to you, he says to you, oh, you're still here. Remember telling that to the detective?
Not specifically, but that sounds accurate.
Okay, well, we're seeing the transcript of what you told the detective. Help to refresh your memory.
Sure. I don't disagree that that happened. So I don't know that I need to look at it, but I will if you'd like me to.
Well, it depends. So,
Sure, let's look at it.
Okay, well, let's just, to be fair, and give you a chance to look at it, okay?
Thank you.
And this is D107, Your Honor, and Mr. Garner. Page 7, lines 1 through 4. If you can just read, sorry, line 1, read it to yourself, not out loud. Read it till line 4, let me know when you're done.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, isn't it true, you told the detective that day when Gerhard got back to where you were waiting, he said, oh, you're still here, right?
Yes, sir. That's true.
As in he thought you were going back to the car, right?
That was not the implication, sir.
But to be clear, the area that you guys stopped was not very far in from the hike, not very far into the hike, not very far in from the busy parking lot, correct?
That's right. It wasn't very far. That's correct.
You described it as about 400 yards in, correct?
I don't think I described it that way, sir.
Okay. We're seeing what you told the detective, help you recall it. That's how you described it.
Sure.
We're now going to go to D106, page 10.
Okay, we go through lunch. And then he's
1 second.
still on crop.
I apologize. Didn't you describe it as about a quarter mile in?
That sounds more accurate, sir.
I apologize. A quarter mile is 400 yards, right?
I have no idea, sir.
What the hell?
You calculated it all.
All right. But you described it as about a quarter mile in, yes?
Yes, sir.
Not super far up this trail from the parking lot, correct?
A quarter mile. I mean, it's uphill and it's rocky, but yes,
But not super far into the trail, correct?
a quarter mile, sir.
I'm confused. If he had waited until they got further into the trail before he tried to yoink her off the cliff I don't understand where I don't understand why the depth to which they traverse the trail has anything to do with anything. Your guess is as good as mine, WI, because I don't know.
So now he comes back, and you say he wants to, at some point, take a selfie, correct?
That's right, sir.
And you want to take a selfie where he wants you to take a selfie, correct?
I didn't want to get too close to the edge of the cliff, sir.
And you indicate that at some point, in the process of that, he says, get back over here, I'm sick of this shit, and he tries to throw you off the cliff in response to that, yes?
That was after the selfie, but shortly thereafter, yes.
Okay. And you indicated that when he initially, according to your version of events, when he initially grabs you,
Ask the question.
according to your version of events, when he grabs you, he says, get back over here. And your first thought was that he was kidding because he really wanted a selfie, right?
It was just very shocking. So yes, my initial reaction was, he must be kidding, yes.
But isn't it true you told the detective, my first instinct was that he was kidding and he really wanted a selfie?
Yes, sir.
And then you throw yourself on the ground, correct?
There's we're like wrestling. So he grabs me. I realize he's not kidding because he's forcefully moving me towards the edge. We wrestle and I throw myself on the ground. Yes, sir.
And when you did that, you were about 10 feet away from the cliff, correct?
Something like that, yes, sir.
And that's what you told the detective, you're 10 feet away from the cliff, yes?
I think I said I was about 10 feet away from the cliff, sir.
When you end up on the ground, there were plants, shrubbery, and trees in that area between you and the cliff, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is he going to make the argument that 10 feet away is way far away from the cliff, therefore she was in no real danger? Because I'm going to tell you, as a person that's afraid of heights, I wouldn't even be getting out of the parking lot that this defense attorney continues to talk about. And 10 feet between you and death. That's not a lot.
You mentioned now that there's kind of a scuffle or fight going on where you're, I think you said you bit him, you're grabbing his testicles, and there's a scuffle going on, correct?
Prior to that, he's trying to pull me and drag me, and then he gets on top of me, and then yes, we're kind of
There's a scuffle going on.
scuffling.
Yeah. And you're biting him, you're grabbing his testicles, yes?
Yes, sir.
Now, you said that at some point he has a syringe, correct?
Yes, sir.
And according to you, you did not see where he grabbed that from. Is that right?
That's right, sir.
1 second, Your Honor. 1 second, ma'am.
Testicles for festivals are testicles for everyone. And you get a testicle, and you get a ball, and you get a ball, and you get a ball.
According to you, he's holding this syringe, and according to you, you flick it out of his hand, right?
Yes, I swatted his hand and caused him to drop the syringe. Yes, sir.
Okay. You mentioned that at some point, according to you, you see him holding a vial, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your belief was he was trying to load the syringe with the vial when he was wrestling with you, correct?
No, sir. The first syringe he produced.
1 second.
Sure.
You told her to hold on. That should indicate that you're ready to go,
So
dum-dum.
you knocked the first syringe, he's getting the second syringe, but you think the vial is because he wants to load the syringe, right?
That's right, sir.
According to you, this is happening while you're on top. He's on top of you. According to you, there's a kind of a scuffle going on, and he's holding a vial with one hand, reaching for another, into his bag with his other hand, and he's also covering your mouth at some point, right?
Yes, sir. If I can explain, he has the vial in his right hand in a closed fist, and so he's using that arm and hand to kind of hold me down. And then when I'm trying to talk to him too, and when I start screaming, he gives up his search for the syringe with his left hand and will hold his hand over my mouth while I scream and then resume looking at his bag.
So holding the syringe with one hand,
No, sir. It's a vial in his hand.
I'm sorry, holding the vial with one hand, holding you down with that same hand, according to you, reaching for another thing, then covering your mouth. That's what's going on, according to you, yes?
Well, he's sitting on top of me, so his weight is on me too, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Again, if you have a weight on your hip flexors, it's going to be very hard for most women who don't train, do hip thrust, to have enough energy to lift themselves up, especially when she's fighting with other things. And yes, it's quite possible to multitask. If you've ever dressed a toddler, if you've ever tried to get overalls on a baby, you know that you can be multitasking. If you've ever had to change a baby butt, you know you can multitask. You can hold the little, diaper over the boy bits and get the wipe and, this man is, y'all, Hagatha, we are going to go to cross because I cannot with this man. Please. we are at least going to the lunch break because I just can't.
Record. All jurors are back in the courtroom. Ms. Ariel Koenig is on the stand. Ms. Koenig, you're still under oath. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your patience. Mr. Otake, whenever you're ready, you may resume your cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Koenig. I know it's been a long morning. I only have two quick follow-ups that I forgot to ask you about earlier. You mentioned when I was asking you about the fact that you were using WhatsApp to communicate with Mr. Miller instead of your phone or email. Text messages on your phone or email. I think you indicated, or you would use WhatsApp to talk to other people at work from time to time too, correct?
Yes, sir.
But isn't it true that TerraPower, which is a nuclear engineering, it's a nuclear energy company, correct?
Yes, sir.
The sanctioned software for company communications was Microsoft Teams, correct?
They provide Microsoft Teams for us, yes.
Right, and that's how they wanted you to message each other because it's a secure communication network, right?
Not exclusively. We're instructed to use encrypted messaging when we talk about work.
You were instructed to use encrypted messaging, right?
Yes, sir. We try message counts, and so does.
Yeah, so does Snapchat and WhatsApp. They're encrypted. Alice G, not much. I did skip through the last 30 minutes of mediocrity of the defense cross simply because I could not see him miss all the points and be condescending anymore. It was grating on my soul. He pointed out that Ariel said Oahu, so that was totally her fault. She wouldn't sleep with Gerhard, so that was totally her fault too. And he managed to point out that they had been on hikes near heights before and she'd never been pushed off. It was a terrible cross-examination and he's continuing it after lunch, but he says he only has 2 questions, so here's hoping.
What's up?
Now, in August of 2024, you went on a trip to South Africa with Mr. Miller, correct?
And another TerraPower employee, yes, sir.
I didn't ask that. I asked if Mr. Miller went on that trip with you, yes or no?
Yes, he did, sir.
And in fact, not only did he go on that trip with you, he advocated for you to be able to go on that trip with him, yes?
He helped set the group of people going, yes, sir.
And he specifically got you to be able to go on that trip with him, yes?
I don't know the answer to that, sir.
Do you recall messaging him on WhatsApp on October 30th and saying, I know I said it earlier, but I sincerely appreciate you getting me on this trip. You remember messaging that to Mr. Miller in August after this trip?
Yes, sir.
No further questions. Thank you, Ms. Coney.
Thank you.
Mr. Barton, can you get Yes, sir. Okay, just a moment there. Yes, take your time.
Okay, Doogie, come on. At this point, if I were the state, I would say, I sincerely apologize that you had to answer any questions where it seemed like the defense counsel was giving any excuse for this man to lay hands on you because he bought you a necklace, gave you a card, or, got more life insurance. That's all, Your Honor. I'd take the contempt charge. Come on, Doogie, you can do this. It's the legal smackdown. Come on, Doogie, you can do it. Oh God, no, we can't. Also, note to defense, if your defendant looks like an unfriendlier pint-sized, fun-sized version of Ted Kaczynski, you might tell his ridiculous behind to not dead stare his wife, who he's alleged to have plotted to throw off a damn cliff. You might not want to death stare your wife, the victim in this case. Just throwing that out there.
Good afternoon, Ariel.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving me a moment. The detective about whether this was an affair or not. Why did you describe what happened to the detective in the way you did?
When everything happened, Gerhard and I talked in couples therapy and discussed whether or not this was, quote unquote, an emotional affair. And we determined that it felt like an affair to Gerhard, an emotional affair to Gerhard. And so that's how we treated it in couples counseling. But in the traditional sense of an affair, aka sex or something like that, I would not say it was an affair. And that's why I answered that way to the detective.
So was there anything physical?
Nothing, no.
The text on December 9th, 2024 that Mr. Otake asked you about, was that the first time the defendant confronted you?
I'm sorry, can you remind me the text that you're referencing, Joel? I apologize.
Oh, no problem. It was a text message that you asked about this morning and essentially took responsibility for the quote secret affair.
I understand. No, that was not the first time that we had talked about that, no.
Okay, so was the first time the defendant confronted you in person or by text message?
It was in person.
Okay, and then if you remember, approximately how much later did this text message come in?
This would have been about a week later, I think.
Moving on a little bit, you were asked about a VPN service. Can you explain, one, what a VPN is, if you know?
VPN is virtual private network. I'm not an IT specialist.
How did you use the VPN that you were asked about in this case?
I actually did not use a VPN. The only time I use a VPN is for work. The VPN that was sent to me was in reference to being able to watch locally syndicated football games. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, watched the Steelers, but it's hard to watch them in Maui. A VPN would allow you to change your location to get local networks.
I was over here thinking, I was like, crap, does Hawaii have a football team? I mean, I know I'm not up on sports ball, but I was like, the Hawaii Dolphins? I was like, no, I thought they were from Florida. Okay, Pittsburgh Steelers, I know those. I know they exist.
Got it, okay. Going back to this confrontation about this emotional affair, who did the defendant tell first?
He told Brian and Gianna we were out having a drink and I went to the restroom and he told them.
That also seems incredibly manipulative and incredibly controlling. Again, to not address this in private, and here's the thing. I have been cheated on before. I'm sure everyone's been cheated on to some extent, whether it was an emotional affair or, your kiddos might have extra siblings out there they don't know about. Whatever level that you've been cheated on, it sucks. It just does. But to not address it with your partner and then to, go around and start talking to your friends, that is such a ick move.
Basically said Aries having an affair.
How did you feel about that?
I just felt, like I said, unfair because I would have liked to talk to Gerhard about it first.
And you were asked something about giving up your privacy earlier this morning after the defendant confronted you about this affair. What did you mean by that?
After this, Gerhard oftentimes would either have my phone or would go through my phone regularly, look through my messages, my email, things like that. That's where I was giving up privacy, just allowing him access to my digital communications.
How long did that last for?
I would say weeks.
By the end of December, did you have your phone back?
Yes, and honestly, it was just the beginning of December where I didn't have my phone most of the time. By the end of December, I had my phone. It would just be that he would go through it.
And how long did the defendant keep going through your phone after this came out?
I don't recall. I think maybe periodically still in January, potentially.
Okay. And you were also asked about a discussion you had with the defendant while on the Palipuka Trail I'm going to restart my question. You asked about a discussion you had with the defendant about the planning of the trip to Oahu for your birthday. How did the defendant react when you said, we don't need to go to Oahu now?
Well, he was just like, oh, well, we should go. It'll be fun. It'll be nice for it to just be the two of us.
Just a couple more things to follow up on. You were asked this morning on cross-examination about, and you said something to the effect of wanting to keep the kids in the house. Could you explain that for us?
Yes, just after everything happened, wanting to be able to provide the same life that they were having, right? They already went through a traumatic situation, so just making sure that they could continue to live in that home for as long as possible. That's what I was referencing.
And this is hypothetical with regards to the life insurance, right?
I'm sorry, yes, this was the planning around life insurance, kind of the methodology that went into coming up with the life insurance amounts was making sure that should either of us not be earning money, we could still afford to keep the house that we have on Maui.
And that seems, fairly normal for I mean, Mr. Moe and I have had the same discussion, what do we need if one of us is incapacitated to make sure that the other one isn't stressed out because, we know that that's gonna be a really rough thing. What is the amount that we would need to make sure that the kids don't have to worry about this, that, and the other, and the spouse left behind? So, it that doesn't uh, the life insurance is not as damning to me. Uh, that being said, the defense really made it an issue because they're trying to say that Ariel had much more to gain by attacking him, which is odd, but there you go.
Our kids there.
How important was it to you to keep your children at that house on Maui?
Objection irrelevant. Beyond the scope.
Overruled.
Very important. But, that was the basis for us really working on our marriage and, for a lot of the things, trying to keep the kids stable.
Now, Earl, you were asked about a comment, this time I'm asking the correct question. You were asked about a comment made on the trail where the defendant told you, "Oh, you're still here." And what was the context of that?
Oh, yeah. Whenever this is referencing when I decided not to continue on the hike and Gerhard went up and continued to hike a little bit, when he went up the hike, there was never an implication or discussion that I would go back to the car. It was that I was going to wait for him there on the hike. So him saying, "Oh, you're still here," was maybe thought I was going to maybe look around and explore a little bit from where I was.
False or speculation?
It's what he was thinking.
So it's what she's thinking he was thinking. Is that speculation?
Maybe.
Or
It'll keep us going forward as well. Okay, you were asked on cross-examination about the number of times that the defendant struck you with a rock. Do you know the exact number?
No, sir.
When you talked to the detective, did you give him an exact number or an estimate?
An estimate, sir.
And what were the exact words that you were asked about and used?
As many as 10 times. I said he hit me as many as 10 times.
And you were asked this morning about being hit in your head. So, over. Where were you hit? Or where did the defendant hit you with the rock?
I was struck on my right eye. I had a laceration down to the skull above my eyebrow here. And then all over my head, I had a large laceration that went back here and down here. So I was hit kind of all in this area.
Were any of your other body parts hit?
Yes, my left hand was hit where I was,
Objection. Beyond the scope.
my left hand was hit where I was blocking my face from the rock. And so I had a distal fracture, which is basically the end of the
I'm going
thumb.
to pause you there.
Sure.
Okay. So, and again, can you demonstrate where your left hand was when the defendant struck your left hand?
It was in front of my face.
Okay, on approach, I'm going to show defense counsel what we mark the state's exhibit number 88 previously provided. I'm going to ask to approach. May I approach, please?
So what number is that?
It's 88. So I've just handed you what's going to be marked as state's exhibit 88. And what, do you recognize what that is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is that?
This is Gerhard's work bag.
Is that the same work bag that the police recovered from your home on Maui?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to retrieve the exhibit from you now.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. All right, my next section of questions has quite a few follow-ups there. The bank accounts. Okay, you were asked about withdrawing money from a bank account. Approximately how much money did you withdraw?
It's about $123,000, I believe.
And why did you withdraw that money?
I withdrew it so that I could continue to pay bills, to keep my kids in their house, as we talked about previously.
And
That was the other thing that, and we skipped through it because I was tired of listening to, the defense attorney, but, um, he did talk to her about the fact that she did withdraw money, to keep the house going, and, after the attack while he was still in, or jail. So, he tried to make that seem calculating. Again, the tonal aspects of this were just so incredibly off. It it is not my first inclination to fast forward through things, and usually I have argued with myself for longer than 45 minutes before I will take the executive decision to fast forward us through things, because I always wanna get it, the full picture of the trial. But the fact is that if the I bet the jury would have wanted to fast forward, and you cannot argue a case when people do not wanna listen to you, and they have turned. So the accusation was basically that she attacked him, uh, when he fought back, she trumped up, her injuries and basically did all of this, baited him into an argument, a physical altercation in public to move forward with a divorce on higher ground. So she would have all this, ammunition against Dr. Gerhard Koenig. That is what the defense is also throwing out there, that this was a calculated move by a mercenary woman who wanted to take him, for all he was worth. This was calculated. She picked a fight, in public, baited him until, hit him until he fought back and defended himself. That is what they're trying to sell, and it's a very incredible story to sell, so you have to be very, very have the facts on your side, and they are not. This is not Amber Heard. This is not Sarah Boone. This is not someone who comports herself with the Machiavellianness. And you would have to be very surgical because she is so sympathetic that if you knew that this was a facade, that you would have to, actually be very calculating on how you are gonna get such a mastermind, such a, Johan from the anime Monster, uh Alright, we're showing this. Corporate needs to find the difference between this picture. He is, oh my god. He knew what happened to Arnold's parents. I loved Hey Arnold. And for anyone who thinks that, kids' cartoons can't be, incredibly emotional and tell good stories, one of the most touching, animated shows I've ever seen is the Hey Arnold that dealt with the fall of Saigon. If you wanna see how to actually engage children in history and make it personal, make it come alive, and, not just the good history, but incredibly complex and heartbreaking, episodes in history, the Hey Arnold about the fall of Saigon and finding, the daughter in America is one of the absolute most heart-wrenching and beautiful episodes of television that I've seen, and for a children's show, a cartoon, to invite children who weren't even born during the time these things happened to live these stories out. I just don't like it when people assume that not all cartoons are Ed, Ed, and Eddie. Not that there's anything wrong with Ed, Ed, and Eddie. I'm just saying cartoons aren't dumb just because they're cartoons, and children's stories, can be incredibly complex and detailed. Uh, Anyways, we've just segued into Hey Arnold because I freaking hate this defense attorney.
How did you withdraw the money, like the mechanics of how?
As discussed before, I created a bank account online and moved the money.
Did you log in through the defendant's account to do so?
No, sir.
Whose account did you log into to move that money?
My account.
And what type of account? Was it again, joint or separate?
The account I logged into was a joint account. I moved it to a separate account.
And what did you spend the money on?
Spent the money on a mortgage. Should I talk through like approximate values?
Yeah, why don't you give us an estimate of where that money went?
Sure. Okay, so if we just take like some of the big hitter items, my mortgage is $8,000 a month. My HOA is just over $300.
$8,000 damn dollars a month? Okay, well, we are not living in Hawaii. I'll visit, but holy daggone. That house better clean itself. It better have like, holy good night nurse.
A month. I have a car payment that's just under $400 a month. I have a solar loan on the house that's about $800 a month. So that's $9,500 roughly. And then I pay about $4,000 a month in childcare for my youngest. So that's $13,500 a month. So in 10 months, that's $135,000.
Okay. Now, you were asked about a loan that you paid back. Can you explain that?
Y'all, oh, okay. My blood pressure gets high when I buy grand cinnamon rolls instead of Great Value. $13,500 just in expenses? And that's not even groceries? All right, well, this is the type of person that shops for groceries at Target. Now, Mo has never been one of those people, and there's nothing wrong with shopping for groceries at Target. I mean, if I win the lottery, I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone, but there will be signs. I am only shopping at Trader Joe's and Target for everything. That being said, that is a whole different lifestyle. Of course, she probably makes a gajillion dollars a month. She's a nuclear engineer, so she worked really hard to be able to, get a position that afforded that kind of earning. So again, no envy or anything. I'm just a little like, oh, she says those numbers like they're numbers that are normal.
Yes, Governor and I had previously taken a loan from my parents, a personal loan, to pay back costs associated with a home construction project we did in Pittsburgh. And so it was kind of a long-standing loan from them. And at the time, I wasn't sure what was going to happen financially, and I wanted to make sure that their retirement wasn't going to be impacted by this.
When you say at the time.
Right after the attack and everything.
And did you settle any other debts?
I did. I paid off Gerhardt's outstanding credit card balances, just so those wouldn't be overdue. Then it was joint marital debt, so I tried to pay down joint marital debt.
Okay. Do you remember how much of that joint marital credit card debt you paid off?
I don't remember the values. I apologize.
Okay. If you were to see your bank statements again, would you be able to remember?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to approach with what's been marked as case 156. Okay, could you take a look through?
And the fact that she was paying down debt in his name that would be considered marital, debt, again, it would be different if she had emptied the accounts and gone on a spa vacation or bought one of those. I think it's, I call them Hermes bags. I know they're Hermes, but look, the amount that women spend on those, to be fair, look, I will confess that if I had an unlimited budget, the Sailor Moon shop would be empty. Like, I would spend any amount of money for any stupid tchotchke with Sailor Moon on it. So, that being said, it's just it's interesting to see the different numbers that are normal for different places. I know Hawaii is very expensive, so maybe that's somewhat normal as a house payment. I have no idea.
Take a look at 156 to refresh your memory on how much of the defendant's credit card debt you paid off. And when you've reviewed, let me know.
Sure.
Did they not highlight it? And here's something that I don't know that lawyers would pay attention to, but if I'm a juror, I'm noticing this. As she bends her head, the scar is very noticeable. Again, she's got a good hairstyle, and it's not, but you can tell it is going to be a permanent, constant reminder. As much as the defense constantly is minimizing, there is a, a pronounced scar. You can see it. It's one of those silent things that I think would be, I know is very poignant to me and something that would be touching to me. So I can imagine that maybe one of the jurors is just noticing that. I don't think, I think that there was a lot of control from Gerhard. It doesn't excuse what she did as far as, it, but I believe he was very controlling just based on the level to which he wanted to control her after the affair. I don't think that was something that was reactionary. I believe that was something that was constant throughout their marriage. It seems like he was constantly asking her to stay home. Every time she seemed to have a transition in her job, it seems like he was pushing her to stay home. Now, it would be interesting to see why his first marriage broke apart, and if there was something about his first wife going into the career space or working outside the home that led to the dissolution of that marriage, because it seems as though he was very, very controlling, and the affair was the excuse he needed to use her guilt against her. Thor, what have we said about knocking things over? He's like, not so sorry, Mom. So I would just, I do, if he was worried about her leaving him and then he fulfilled that prophecy by being so controlling. But it's very interesting to see how she's always like, the marriage was good. We had some issues. She seems very used to minimizing things and weathering Gerhard's moods. And it's not anything you can name, but when you have had to walk on eggshells over someone else's moods, you can see when someone else has had to do it. The way she kind of shrinks into herself and doesn't really complain, took instant responsibility and constantly talked about how Gerhard framed her actions, not how she framed her actions. It just seemed like, again, this is all speculation from my part, but I've noticed myself when I do that, and it wasn't in a good relationship.
There's one for, I'm sorry.
Have you reviewed the exhibit?
Yes,
Is your memory refreshed?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to come collect the exhibit from you, and I'll ask you the same question again. Okay, I'm collecting State's Exhibit 156. Okay, how much of the defendant's credit card debt did you pay off?
There's approximately $5,000. And just for the sake of completeness, at least I think one of those credit cards I was an authorized user on, so I don't want us to mischaracterize it and say it was his.
Okay, is that why you consider it joint marital?
Yes.
Again, if this is, just listen to that last statement. I don't want to mischaracterize it. The defense is trying to paint her as a mercenary woman who would do anything to deprive Gerhard of, his children, his money, his assets. This woman, had planned this. She was the one who wanted to go to Oahu. I'm trying to show you this ridiculous cat because he is being ridiculous. Would you stop? Once in a while I wear a nice shirt. Fine. I am not in a controlling relationship with my cat. Oh, wait, I am.
Got it. Okay. Last section of questions, the divorce, Ariel. You were asked about a motion to set trial for divorce. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked about your request for full custody of the children.
Yes.
Why did you request full custody of the children?
They're in my care now, and we had a hearing last year sometime, and a judge ruled that I should have sole temporary custody.
Temporary.
Sure.
And
Sir, I am
on
hearing you.
that motion, and you testified this morning, you actually reviewed the motion to set you were asked about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the section on page 11 of 28, or page stamp 758, did that state, upon conclusion of the criminal trial against father, this matter may be readdressed when discussing physical custody of the children?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do you intend to have physical custody of the children forever?
I intend to work through the courts to determine that.
And with regards to your request for the house and the retirement accounts, why did you request those?
The house also comes with a mortgage against it, so I basically requested that I have kind of the current state of things in Maui. So it's a house with a mortgage and a solar loan. Again, to try to keep my children in a stable environment. That's the house that they're used to living in, and the school district that they're used to, and the neighborhood they're used to. And the split of the retirement account was again based on discussions with my divorce attorney and what would be reasonable in lieu of any kind of child support.
Sir? I thought we were anything to hear say, but that's fine.
Okay.
Again, these are not this is not how, if you were truly Machiavellian, if you wanted to bury her, she would have testified like Justin did in the Kelsey Fitzsimmons case. I was afeared for my life. I was terrified. He's crazy. Like, he done tried to push me over a cliff. Again, if she would have teared up much more than when she had to read a letter, probably full of all the things he told her every time he crossed the line. You know, I love you. You're so great. And then the next minute he would berate her. So again, she does not hold herself in the way that a Machiavellian, Sarah Boone, I want to get all the money. Brian needs to pay all of my fees, everything. She is not behaving like that. And it is so off base that your continued assertions that she is make you look incredibly bad.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 187, page 12 of 28, page stamp number 759, at the very top of the page, under number 3, child support. The penalty states for Defense 187. Could you review that paragraph at the top of the page?
Yes.
Okay, have you reviewed the paragraph?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I'm going to picture the exhibit for me now.
Okay.
Why did you request?
Why the hell? No. Also, not a good look if you are making the misogynistic argument that she deserved it, to have your female assistant crawling on the floor to hand you files. Did this defense, did they take a Tartarus from 1940? I mean, what the hell is going on here? Again, objectively, it might be completely logistics that this is happening, that there really is no other space. But optics wise, you are making an incredibly misogynistic and absolutely terrible, case in current time. And you have your female assistant kneeling on the floor, passing you files. Could you look any worse? I mean, do you have a baby seal you could club on the way into trial next? Could you bring like a can of tin dolphin in? I mean, tuna safe dolphin? Gee, Blitz.
The house and the defendant's, part of the defendant's retirement accounts.
Since he can't earn his previous income, he would be unable, it's unlikely that he'd be unable to pay child support that would keep their standard of living the way it was previously.
Okay. Understood. Last things. Several times this morning in your testimony, what happened up on the Pali Puka Trail has been characterized as a scuffle Is that a fair characterization?
I consider scuffle to be like a back and forth, like a wrestling thing. So it depends on the context. I mean, I would call it an attack versus a scuffle.
When you were fighting back on March 24, 2025, what were you fighting for?
My life and the ability to see my kids again.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Owatake, recross based on what that's on your right.
Thank you. You were being asked about the motion in the divorce case and why you were seeking child support or why you were seeking the house in his retirement. And you said, because he can't earn his same income. And what was written in the report is that because he is incarcerated, correct?
Yes, sir.
Because of this case, because he's incarcerated and he can't earn his income, you guys in the divorce case are using that to say you should get the house and his retirement, yes?
Yes, sir.
Dear, who in the hell thought this was a good idea? Yeah, I'm going to ask her, if she pointed to the fact that my client may have tried to launch her off a cliff, but this bitch was asking for child support. What in the name of giblets? I mean, again, Kathy Nestor could do a better job. Was he the only lawyer on the island? Is this his first case?
You indicated when you were asked about physical custody, prosecutor pointed out that you have temporary physical custody, you're seeking physical custody, but it was written in that motion, upon conclusion of the criminal trial against father, this matter may be readdressed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Meaning you understand if he's found not guilty, it can be readdressed and he can try to get physical custody of the kids, right?
Holy shit, you just made every juror want to vote for him to be guilty. Do you understand that the jury is looking to you to be the neutral teller of facts, to represent your client's case honestly? You are the reason people assume that defense attorneys are slimy. You are a disgrace to defense attorneys because most defense attorneys are actually working within the boundaries of ethics and, good strategy and hold the state to their burdens and work on the Constitution. I have never seen a defense attorney bring light to the fact that their client is in fact incarcerated as a gotcha moment. He beat her head with a rock. No judge in the world, and it's normal. Every single, case where a parent, breaks the law, they're going to lose custody of their children. This is not news.
Yes, sir. I understand that.
And if he's contrary to that, found guilty, you know that he's not going to be able to have custody of the kids, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you would get full custody of them for the remainder of their juvenile life, correct?
Yes, sir.
He wouldn't be able to see them or have a relationship with them for the rest of their juvenile life. You understand that if he's convicted, right? And that's why you guys wrote that in there, right?
Yes, sir.
Again, it's normal boilerplate language. If there is a custody battle and a criminal case, this is not abnormal.
Because of him being incarcerated. You wouldn't be able to see him, or you wouldn't be able to have custody of them till they're adults.
Cumulative. Sustained.
Did this lawyer recently go through a divorce? He seems to have a very big animosity towards women, and I'm saying this objectively. He seems to characterize her as completely mercenary, and he seems to have a very poor opinion of her. And I'm wondering if he was cheated on recently, if he got screwed over in a divorce, because he seems incredibly bitter.
You and your divorce attorney are using the allegations in this case as a basis to ask for certain things in the divorce and custody case, correct?
Objection, argumentative.
No, bro.
Correct?
Yes, in certain cases where it's applicable.
You were asked about this idea again about it being an emotional affair, emotional infidelity, and that's how you and Gerhard talked about it and described it, correct?
Yes, sir.
When the detective asked you the question, well, did you have an affair? You said no, correct?
That's correct, sir.
You didn't say, well, sir, we didn't have sex, but we've been talking about it as an emotional affair. You could have said that, but you didn't, correct?
That's correct. I did not say that.
You described it to the detective as some flirty text messages, correct?
That's correct. That's what it was.
To this day, in front of this jury, that's how you're still describing it. Just some flirty text messages, correct?
That's correct, sir.
You were asked about Gerhard wanting to have access.
Oh, I like that. We're going to play that again. This is her taking her power back. This is her refusing to take the framing Gerhard has been using this entire time, and I'm loving it. And I don't, unless you've been in this kind of relationship, you don't understand how her framing this in her own way is such a pivotal thing for her not to have to use Gerhard's, emotional affair. The fact that she is now saying, yeah, screw you, it was flirty text messages, and that is chafing Gerhard's ass. Gerhard is pissed off, but the fact that she is able to take that back, look in his face, and at the very end of this, when he cannot respond back to her, say, yes, all it was some flirty text messages. And he couldn't respond back, so we're going to play that again.
That's correct. That's what it was.
To this day, in front of this jury, that's how you're still describing it. Just some flirty text messages, correct?
That's correct, sir.
You were asked about Gerhard wanting to have access to your phone in the weeks following the discovery of your flirty text messages, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I answered this earlier, but you understood that the audiobooks you were listening to by these professionals discussed that, giving up privacy, giving access to your phone to help him start to try to trust you again. That's what the audiobook said, right?
Yes, sir.
When he left you on the trail, there was nothing stopping you from going back to the car, correct? You could have walked back to the car.
Wait. So now it's her fault that she didn't take herself off the cliff. It was her fault that she was just located herself near a cliff because, that skirt she was wearing was so short. She was so near to that cliff. How could he stop himself? Are you kidding me, sir? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You have made your client guilty. I don't think you understand how incredibly bad this has been for you. Tony from A Lawyer Explains, the jury is looking at you to be a fair dealer of the facts, to admit when things are bad facts, to show the other side. But when you so grossly shade things like this, when there is an obvious disconnect between what you are trying to get us to see and what our eyeballs are telling us, what the evidence is telling us, you are guaranteeing that they are not going to listen to you or your side. The jury, you have just wasted their time for 3 hours to get her to admit to an emotional affair that she admitted to on direct. Congratulations. And you have made every excuse for why she is responsible for what Gerhard did. Well, let me remind you something that I tell my little boys all the time, my young ferals. The only person you can control is yourself. So, no, he didn't make you hit him. You decided that you couldn't control your arms and you hit your brother. So go stand in the corner.
Quarter mile away, right?
I wouldn't have done that.
Well, I'm just saying, was there anything stopping you from doing that?
Nothing was physically stopping me from doing that. The expectation with Gerhard was not that I was going to leave
That's
him
what
there.
I mean.
You're right. There was nothing physically stopping me from going back to the car. You're right.
And let's talk about what was your expectation in your head and not others, okay? Because when he got back, whatever you think he meant, the words that he used were, oh, you're still here, right?
Yes, sir.
So you were asked about.
Right, no, I'm done with him. I'm so flippin' done with him. Y'all, we are gonna let this woman. Again, terrible look to make your paralegal or what happened to the audio? Okay. Let me refresh. Oh,
To be in the same hotel.
I am a moron. Welcome to Mo Does Streaming for the first time in her entire freaking flapjack life. I believe this is the doctor. Yes. Yeah, Ted, it didn't do well for you.
Sorry, Your Honor, thank you for the moment. The state's next witness will be Dr. Evan Grosjean.
Thank you. And can we just approach briefly while we're on record? Yeah, sure. Just while he's coming.
My client would like to plead guilty and throw himself on the mercy of the case after I homicided his defense. Yeah, dude. It's not going well. Did they get him a kid's chair? Wait, let's. Yes, they did. Oh, next time they'll get him a booster seat. He's a wee little guy. And before I go on, look, props to my short kings. I am making fun and roasting him. Normally, I don't judge a book by its cover, but I judge a douche by its cover. Do we not have sound on this?
Able to explain the
chest pain, and we need to understand what
every question.
in the emergency departments, and we identify what may be going on with patients and provide a recommended treatment plan.
Okay. I think every question needs to follow. You said the word undifferentiated. What does that mean?
So patients can come in with any type of complaint. Some patients may come in with chest pain, and we need to understand what that means and how to identify, are they having a heart attack, or is this a non-cardiac chest pain? Other patients may come in with injuries, and we are there to stabilize their condition and determine the best course of treatment.
Can you describe your training in medicine specifically?
Mm-hmm. So I completed medical school and a 3-year emergency medicine residency.
Do you do any continuing education for emergency medicine?
I do. I'm an assistant clinical professor at the John A. Burns School.
Just once, I want to say, I play a lot of Operation, and I barely ever make the buzzard beep. Again, I know it's not a comedy bit, but sometimes they could think about us commentators and make it a little entertaining for us too.
Of medicine, and so I instruct medical students and residents in emergency medicine with bedside teaching.
How long have you been teaching students from JABSOM about ER medicine?
10 years.
At this point, Your Honor, the state requests that pursuant to HRE Rule 702, Dr. Grosjean be qualified to provide opinion testimony in the field of medicine with a specialty in emergency medicine.
Mr. Otake. No objection. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Dr. Grosjean will be allowed to provide opinion testimony in the field of medicine with a specialty in emergency medicine. You may proceed, Mr. Barner.
Dr. Grosjean, do you agree that all your opinions you offer in this case will be to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
Were you on duty at the Queens Punchbowl ER on March 24th, 2025?
I was.
On that date, did you treat somebody named Ariel Koenig?
Yes.
Before you treat somebody, do you obtain a patient history?
I do.
And what is a patient history?
A patient history is what a patient tells me about their condition, about why they came to the emergency department. It can be about their symptoms, or in other cases, it can be about if they come in with an injury, I ask them about the injury, what happened.
Why is it important to obtain a patient's history?
It's important so I can correlate clinically their concerns, their symptoms, their injury, to understand what happened so I can order the best testing and management plan for them.
without going into the identity of any persons responsible, was Ariel able to explain the mechanics of any injuries she reported?
Yes.
Did Ariel report any symptoms aside from physical injuries?
Yes, she reported a headache, pain to the face, pain to her left hand, nausea, and dizziness.
And what were the mechanics of any injuries she reported?
It appeared that she was struck with an object.
As an ER physician, do you compare the history that a patient gives you with your physical examination of a patient?
Yes.
And why do you make that comparison?
I make that comparison to understand the severity of injuries and determine what type of treatment and what type of testing I need order to evaluate the condition.
And did you actually observe any injuries on Ariel on March 24th, 2025?
I did.
Now, be aware, I was scrolling through and it does look like we're going to get some pictures. So I am probably going to be going off, or just, you're going to be seeing me. Because, YouTube sometimes doesn't like us showing what Law and Crime does.
Can we walk through those injuries starting with her head? So, Dr. Grosjean, I'm going to publish what's been entered into evidence as States Exhibit 25. And you can see it on the screen there to your left. And as I have this on the screen next to you, I'm going to hand you the iPad that I have right here with a laser pointer working. I'm going to ask you to describe the injuries that...
I am going to show this just because the defense has said that this was 1 or 2 hits, and I need you to understand when they do try to minimize that these were not small little cuts. So, warning, I am going to be putting this up on the screen. I will put it up for like a count of 5. I will give you until the count of 5 to, turn away. I will count to 5 and then take it off the screen. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to show it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it is coming off of the screen. But we will still be able to hear him explain what's going on. But I do, for those that need to understand how incredibly severe these were, because the defense has been very much, oh gosh, sorry, oh, for the love of Cheetos, I meant to put me on, so sorry you guys, tag on it. I'm a dingus. New here, first day.
That you saw in Ariel.
Sorry you guys, tag on it.
Okay, so Dr. Grosjean, can you, first of all, walk us through any injuries you observed to Ariel's head?
So in this photo here, this is a complex stellate type laceration. Stellate meaning kind of star-like. So looking at that, you can see the branch out points like a star, multiple branches out here. This is a complex laceration because the borders of this are very irregular. And then you can see that, especially here, you see crushed or macerated tissue as well. Looking into the laceration itself, you could see down, and through portions of this laceration, you could actually see the skull, so all the way down to the bone. And then within this laceration, especially in the areas here, I observed pieces of rock and material that were actually embedded in the laceration.
Okay, Dr. Grosjean, what are some of the difficulties in repairing this type of laceration?
So several things. The first is that this wound was grossly contaminated with innumerable amounts of rock and debris. So that all needs to be washed out, debrided, and removed. Otherwise, this laceration...
And that can be incredibly painful. And she's in a tropical condition, or she's in a tropical area where she would be very prone to getting infection, bacteria, especially with all the foreign matter that was in there. And debridement is not fun. I mean, imagine having, a cavity and having to brush the cavity to get all the stuff out. It's incredibly painful, incredibly jarring, and yeah, I would not be shocked if they didn't send her home on a butt ton of antibiotics as well.
Populations at risk of infection. The other complications are that it was very deep all the way to the skull. And the other difficulties are, you can see how complex this is. This is very jagged edge. All of this needs to be approximated and put together just right. Additionally, there were portions of this where there were tissue bridges. So that's with part of a laceration where there's a thin strip of tissue that attaches on both sides. So that needs to be approximated just right to make sure there's good blood supply to allow that to heal.
Was there any bruising to Ariel's head?
There was diffuse bruising noted around this area here. There was bruising over the nose, and then you can't see it on this picture, on the right orbit over here, there was swelling around the orbit, which is the eye socket. And so there's an additional laceration that's totally separate from this above, like by the eyebrow, but then another in the orbit that was right here.
Okay, I'm going to retrieve the iPad from you and publish a separate exhibit right now, doctor. Okay, now I'm publishing Stakes Exhibit 22. Dr. Koschy, is this what you were describing with regards to the right side of Ariel's face?
Yes, the laceration above the right eyebrow underneath, and then there's bruising around the right orbit and along the forehead and over the nose.
Were there any injuries to Ariel's extremities?
There was. She had a lot of bruising to the left thumb and the second finger. There was pain with range of motion of the left thumb. And on the thumb itself, there's what's called a subungual hematoma, which is if you get a large bruise that's under the nail itself. And there was also a small open wound just at the nail bed, which is on the bottom. So that constellation of symptoms, I was concerned that there could be an underlying fracture of the thumb.
Okay, I'm going to publish States Exhibit 28. Okay, I'm going to hand you the iPad again, and if you could point out the injuries that you were just describing to us.
So this is the bruising that I noticed to the hand and the thumb. You can see second digit, there's some bruising here, but then on the thumb right here, this bruising under the nail is called a subungual hematoma, and then there was bleeding from a small laceration here, and then swelling to the thumb and the digit.
Okay, thank you for explaining. I'm going to retrieve the iPad from you now. I'm going to take States Exhibit 28 of the screen. Dr. Grosjean, as a result of your physical examination, did you order any imaging?
I did.
Okay. What type of imaging did you order?
I ordered a CAT scan of the head, the face, and the cervical spine, which is a three-dimensional X-ray to evaluate the area.
Did you yourself review the results of the imaging of Ariel's head?
I did.
Okay. Was there any skull fracture?
No.
In general terms, Dr. Grosjean, is the human skull the same thickness?
That is shocking. I am shocked that with what we saw that there wasn't a skull fracture involved in this. Because look, I'm not a doctor, but that looked incredibly brutal. He's just mad he didn't get on house.
At all parts?
It is not.
Okay, can you tell us which parts of the skull are thicker and which parts are thinner?
The frontal skull is thicker than on the side of the head, such as the temporal skull.
For the part of the skull where you showed us where Ariel had these lacerations,
Sure.
is that the frontal skull or the temporal skull?
This was along the frontal skull,
So again, is that the thicker part or the thinner part?
the thicker part.
Now, Dr. Grosjean, were you able to determine an exact number of times Ariel may have been struck?
Not an exact number.
Okay, do you have an opinion as to whether it was one time?
More than one time.
Yes,
More than two?
Multiple times.
sir.
As a result of your physical examination, did you consult with any other departments or teams?
I did. I discussed management with the trauma surgeon.
Why did you consult with the trauma surgeon?
I consulted the trauma surgeon because the patient had multiple traumatic injuries, And from my experience in emergency medicine, this is a very highly complex laceration and needed a specialist to manage, especially being managed in the operating room.
And when you say traumatic injuries, in the medical context, what does that mean?
It means multiple injuries, so trauma, any head injury, lacerations, broken bones. The trauma surgeons can help manage.
And sorry, maybe I asked a bad question, doctor. Is trauma in the medical sense related to the impact?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Could you explain that maybe more clearly than I just asked you?
So if a trauma is any force that's subjected on the body, if a patient has subjective or significant force that is the body is subjected to, there's at risk of injuries, and this patient was at high risk of injuries. Yeah.
After you completed your physical examination of Ariel, were you able to compare her injuries with the verbal history she gave you?
I did.
Was Ariel's verbal history consistent with the injuries you observed?
It was.
Did everything you testified to occur in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Okay, what is the defense gonna babble about?
Here we'll talk to cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, doctor, my name is Tommy Otake. I'm gonna have a few questions for you this afternoon. But first, I wanna make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Could you please tell me how to say your last name?
Grosjean.
Grosjean, okay, kind of how it's spelled, I guess. Okay, thank you. Now, doctor, you're an emergency physician at Queens Hospital, yes?
Yes.
And you've been so for about 10 years or so, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in the emergency department at Queens Hospital, when you treat a patient, you input relevant information into their medical charts, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, of course, when you do that, you do your best to be accurate with the information you're putting into the charts, yes?
Yes.
And that's because other doctors rely on the charts, and, you know, other medical professionals might read the charts, and as it relates to medical decision making, it's important to be accurate, correct?
Yes.
And because you
Yeah.
see a lot of patients in the Queens Emergency Department, for example, in the last year, you've probably seen hundreds or thousands, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so you can't remember every detail from every case, and the charts help you to kind of go back and refresh your memory about specifics, correct?
Yes.
And in this case, you did review your charts prior to testifying today, yes?
Yes.
And in addition, you met with, or at least
Does this defense lawyer know where he's going to? Is he going to try to downplay what the jury just saw? Because that was quite graphic.
had some conversations with the prosecutors before today, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to be asking you a lot about the details in your charting. Would it be helpful for you to have a copy of the chart while I'm asking you these questions?
You can provide it to me.
Okay. Is that, Your Honor, may I approach with a copy of D83? Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. So, doctor, I'm handing you the medical charting for Ariel Koenig from her visit on March 24th, 2025. And I'm going to point you to certain portions of it. Okay. So let's start first on,
I know it's petty, but I don't like the way he says certain. It's one word, not two. Certain. It's not two words. It's one. It's certain. I'm just being petty, but that pisses me off, and he's done pissed me off, so we're going petty. Certain is one word. You should know that. You're a lawyer. You went to school longer than I did.
page 3. Page 3. Okay. On page 3, according to the chart, it indicates that Miss Coney came into the emergency department at 12:13 p.m. on March 24th, 2025, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Queens Emergency Department at times can be very, very busy, yes?
Yes.
Probably the busiest emergency department on the island, I'd imagine, yes?
Yes.
Sometimes there's not enough space in rooms, even in the hallways. Sometimes there's a wait before patients can be brought in, correct?
Yes.
And there's something in emergency medicine called triage, or assigning an acuity level, yes?
That is done by a triage nurse, not a physician.
I understand that, but in emergency medicine, there's triage and acuity, right?
Triage, yes.
Okay. And part of triage, or the way it works, is if there's a busy emergency department, patients who are triaged, who are much more serious, life-threatening types of injuries, they're seen first, right? Typically speaking.
We try to do that.
And sometimes if somebody is stable enough and there's not enough room in the emergency department, sometimes they got to wait in the ambulance outside for a bit, correct?
It's not my decision to do that.
Okay, doctor, I'm going to ask you to listen to the question. I'm not asking.
Yes, triage is a thing, but she did require surgery. It's not like they were just like, screw it, you can wait. No, they probably had heart attacks, strokes, things coming in. It's not by his design, and just because she waited, Mr. Moe was very close to going septic. His gallbladder was incredibly infected, most infected she's seen in a while, and he still had to wait because he was in the first class trauma ER, and there were, gunshot wounds and car wrecks coming in.
Asking you if that was your decision.
Sure.
I'm just asking you factually.
Mhm.
If sometimes there's enough room, if there's not enough room in the emergency department, the less critical patients might have to wait outside in the ambulance for a while, yes?
Correct.
Okay. According to your charts, Ms. Coney was brought into the emergency room at 12:13 p.m., yes?
Yes.
That would be an hour and 45 minutes after 10:30 a.m., correct? Roughly. Roughly, right?
Say that again.
12:13
Mhm.
is about an hour and 45 minutes after 10:30 a.m., yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then sometimes when a patient is brought into the emergency room and there's not enough room, sometimes if there's no rooms available, they're kept in the hallway, yes?
Yes.
Once in the emergency department at Queens, doctor, a physical exam is done and vital signs are taken and reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And oftentimes the vital signs are probably not taken by you, but taken by nurses.
Yeah, that is something that I'm confused about. I understand, more critical things, but like a heart attack or, again, more exigent things. But I would think with head lacerations that severe, needing to be debrided and and her complaining of the kind of nebula of symptoms that might indicate a concussion, you would think that she wouldn't have been, sidelined that much.
Or staff there, yes?
Correct.
But you, as part of your job in assessing the patient, you review the vital signs and the history that was taken by others, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to page 4 of the charting. Under, you see where it says review of symptoms. Review of symptoms,
Mhm.
or systems, sorry. Review of
Yes.
systems, apologize. That's something you would have reviewed, right? As part of your treatment, yeah?
Correct.
So let's go through some of this. Constitutional, it says she was awake and alert with distress, yes?
Yes.
So she was awake and alert, correct?
Correct.
With distress, that is the full statement. This is so incredibly slimy. He would have done better to say, these are the wounds she had. She didn't have a concussion, but to go in and try to say, well, her heart rate was good and her blood pressure was great. Did you eat lead paint as a child, defense attorney? What the hell?
One thing that in the emergency room that is examined in cases of head injuries is the patient's eyes and pupils, correct?
Yes.
You shine a light into the eyes and you see how the eyes react, correct?
Correct.
And in this case, her pupils were equally round and reactive to light, yes?
Yes.
This meant that her pupils were functioning normally, indicating that the brain
That's a very crude signal of brain trauma. While while certain brain injuries might, go with the pupils, that's not a very oh my god. It's the very cursoriest of cursory tests to b th what's crazy is we continued to work on the CAT scan and MRI machines when we had the flashlight in the eyeball test. Oh my god.
brainstem, and optic nerves were likely intact and functioning properly, correct?
Those specific portions of the brain that you mentioned, yes.
Right. Normal pupils in this context is a positive sign that a doctor looks for when assessing the neurological status of a patient with reported head trauma, correct?
It is one of the signs, correct?
And in this case, it was normal, yes?
Yes,
For your patient, Miss Coney, yes?
yes.
Oh my god, this doctor is not thinking about the prostate exam he's going to give this defense attorney should he ever come into his ER. Look, there are certain people you don't screw with, and you don't make an enemy of the local ER doctor. And look, the look he's given this defense attorney, I would go to urgent care if I had any problems.
The patient's heart rate is also checked as part of the initial examination, correct?
Correct.
And in this case,
He legitimately is doing well, she was breathing and she had a pulse, so she was okay. Holy God.
Miss Coney had a normal heart rate and a normal heart rhythm, yes?
Yes,
You also checked her breathing and pulmonary issues, correct?
yes,
And again, in this case, Miss Koenig, her pulmonary effect was normal and there was no respiratory distress, correct?
incorrect. The respiratory rate on arrival, she had what's called tachypnea and breathing rapidly. So that rate is 23, which is not normal for an adult.
Okay, do you see under there where it says pulmonary on page 4,
Yes.
where it says effort?
Mhm.
Pulmonary effort is normal, no respiratory distress. Breath sounds, normal breath sounds. At least in that,
Yes, but when I would have to count respirations for intake with patients we worked with at the pool, 16 to 18 would be considered resting. We have some that were in really good physical condition that could get down to maybe 12 to 14 respirations, but 23 to 24, those would indicate that, maybe someone could be in pain because some people will tend to hyperventilate. Conversely, if someone's normally in the 18 to 20, but they tend to, I hold my breath when I'm in pain. Um, you know, if I recorded lower respirations, it might be my chance to say, "Hey, are you in more pain today?" This you are, but again, they would still be within the range of normal. I hate this defense attorney so much.
portion, it was charted that it was normal, correct?
Yes,
Now, they also check her abdomen as part of this initial exam process, yes?
yes,
And abdomen meaning the stomach, and you just feel around and to see if it's normal, correct?
Yeah, we just poke around, feel around, you palpate. Palpate. If you again are going to try to cross wits with an expert, then try to use the medical terms. It's palpate the abdomen and not poke around. And yeah, he beat her in the head with a rock. I'm sure her liver was fine. We can go through everything. I'm sure her lower intestine, duodenum, ileostia was fine. I'm sure it was great.
correct,
And in this case, there was no distension, correct?
correct.
What does distension mean, if you can tell the jury?
If the abdomen is protuberant and if it's out,
Okay.
that's not normal.
And that's a bad thing, right?
Can be, yes.
In this case, there was no distension, right?
Mhm.
Her abdomen was soft, is what you want to see, yes?
Yes,
No abdominal tenderness, correct?
correct.
No abnormal
Because he beat her in the fucking head. I mean, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I am but yeah, I'm sure that her perineum was also fine, and her uterus and her fallopian tubes. Are we gonna go through every system in the body that wasn't hit with a mother effing rock?
Findings related to her abdominal, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Now, there was a reported head injury with a rock, correct?
yes,
You're concerned about neurological damage to the brain, skull fractures, things like that, yes?
correct.
One of the things that are done in the emergency department when there's concerns about head injuries is something called a Glasgow Coma Scale, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with that. It's a very commonly used tool by healthcare providers as part of assessing a patient's neurological functioning, correct?
Correct.
It helps to measure if there's decreases in the level of consciousness, yes?
Yes,
Very widely used and relied upon tool, correct?
correct.
And the neurological assessment tool, am I pronouncing that right? Glasgow Coma?
Glasgow.
That is
yeah,
a tool that was used on Miss Koenig while she was in the Queen's ER on this day we're talking about, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, is this something you're familiar with through your training and experience?
I am.
Passing. You know, I watched House once, and I stayed at a Best Western. So, I'm totally qualified. Yes, I'd hope he would be, acquainted with emergency medicine, with his job as a doctor of emergency medicine.
It's true then that the Glasgow Coma Scale has 3 categories that are part of this neurological exam: eye response, motor response, and verbal response, correct?
Correct.
Eye response, this relates to how awake and alert someone is, correct?
Yes.
Motor response, this part is about how well your brain can control muscle movements. It can show if there's any issues with connections between your brain and the rest of your body, correct?
Yes.
Has anyone done the Glasgow Coma, assessment on the defense attorney? Because right now, I don't think that I think that we are looking at the first documented case of the brainstem independently, like functioning the entire meat suit, because this doesn't look like a defense that was put together with any sort of, gray matter. Go for the cerebellum.
Okay. And then verbal response, this tests how well certain brain abilities work, including thinking, memory, attention span, awareness of your surroundings, correct?
Correct.
To get the score of a Glasgow Coma Scale, providers do these different tests, different scores from each 3 categories, and they add it all up, and that's your Glasgow Coma score, correct?
Yes.
The highest possible Glasgow Coma score is 15, yes?
Yes.
Meaning that's the best, meaning that you want to see on this on the Glasgow Coma score, right? 15 is better than 3. 3 is the lowest, right?
Yes.
And so you want 15. It means you're fully awake, responsive, not having problems with thinking ability or memory, correct?
Correct.
So I'm guessing this defense attorney is about a 7 right now.
Doctor, on page 5, what was Miss Koenig's Glasgow Coma score on March 24, 2025, in a couple hours after the incident in Queen's Hospital?
15.
So several hours after.
Nevertheless, you're concerned about skull fractures, so you order a CAT scan of the head, face, and spine, correct?
Nevertheless, I love how he's like, despite the little scratches you might have seen, I mean, you see these all the time. It again, the jury has just seen that picture. If you are not a medical person, those look incredibly bad. And even if you are a medical person, those are incredibly intensive and incredibly careful. You are going to have to get all those blood vessels to, come back together, to not kill the tissue, to not have, painful scar adhesions. And he's just like, despite her bitching, I mean, you listen to her even though she was just whining about these little boo-boos. It is so incredibly dismissive, and the jury has just seen what they saw.
Correct.
Because a CAT scan is a very reliable imaging tool. Well, it's an imaging tool that is used to see into the body to see if there's fractures, injuries, brain bleeds, things like that. Yes?
Yes,
You thought it was prudent to order one. correct?
absolutely. Mhm.
All right. And you reviewed the results of these imaging tests and factored that into your medical decision making, yes?
I did.
The CAT scan of the head, you're looking for any skull fractures or hematoma, given the report that she was hit multiple times in the head with a rock, yes?
Yes,
And doctor, the CAT scan to the head indicated that there were no skull fractures, correct?
correct.
And no hemorrhaging was found either, yes? I mean,
No.
correct?
No internal hemorrhage.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I mean. No brain bleeds were found, correct?
correct.
You also do a CAT scan of Miss Koenig's face, and the results of that, as well, there were no mandible fractures, yes?
Correct.
Well, what is a mandible?
That is the jawbone.
Okay, I guarantee I'm going to pronounce some medical words wrong, but ossicles, is that a word? I can't even pronounce it close enough for you to recognize it. Ossicles.
It is a word. Yes.
Okay, how do you say it?
So ossicles.
Okay, what is that?
So it depends where you're looking. There are ossicles in different locations.
Well,
So-
after the CAT scan of the face said ossicles are normally aligned. Said it was normal.
okay.
Okay, so,
Mhm.
so what is that?
So the facial bones were aligned. There was no facial.
Giblets. Maybe it's called Google. You know what I do when I don't know a word? It's called Google.
Bone that was out of place.
Okay. No skull base fractures, correct?
Correct.
No zygomatic arch or pterygoid plate fractures, right?
Yes.
And what is a zygomatic arch or pterygoid plate fracture?
So they're the pterygoid plate. They're parts of the face and the skull. So zygomatic arch kind of goes over here, and then the pterygoid plate's nearby.
And the CAT scan to the face showed no fractures to that area, correct?
Yes.
No maxillary sinus fractures. What is the maxillary sinus, doctor?
Maxillary sinus is, again, one of the bone structures of the face. So that would be right here.
Okay. No fractures to that area, yes?
Yes.
Now, I wanted to ask you about this. The orbits are intact and the globes are normal. That's what the CAT scan said, right?
Yes.
You were asked earlier about the thickness of skull in different areas. Remember that
Yes.
by the prosecutor?
Mhm.
And you said certain parts are thicker than others, right?
Yes.
And you have the skull and different parts of the skull. But isn't it true, doctor, that the orbital bones, it's a thin, fragile bone?
So these are facial bones, not the skull bones. So these are facial bones here. And so these
Yes. So again, she could have had facial fractures, but it is good that the doctor is pointing out that this would be what we were talking about, the skull. And this would be, facial features. So again, this constant act of minimizing is really grotesque.
over the sinus, it is thinner than the frontal
Yeah, no,
skull.
I understand that. I'm not saying you misled anyone. I'm just clarifying. You're talking about the skull. I'm talking about the orbital bones, right?
Mhm.
Isn't it true, doctor, that the orbital bones around the eye is a very thin, fragile bone in a person's body?
On the inferior portions and the medial portions, which are here and here.
Not the
They are
outside, the
thin and fragile, yes.
They are one of the thinner portions of the face, of the bone.
So orbital bone fractures is typically like a punch to the face, and you'll see the double raccoons. Out here, your body is built to be stronger because Well, it anticipated hits out here, so it is stronger out here near your temple. Not strong enough that you should take repeated hits to your head, but it is in theory thicker. I hate this defense attorney.
Yes.
And in the ER department, you often see people with orbital bone fractures because they are thin, fragile bones that can be broken by getting hit in the face with a baseball, for example. You've seen that in your time, I'd imagine, yes?
Yes.
But again, it's usually right in this area.
And in this
not
case,
over
the
in
face
here.
CT CAT scan showed that she did not have any fractures to this thin bone around her eyes, correct?
Correct.
The CAT scan of her cervical spine, likewise, doctor, no fractures of her cervical spine was found, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I want to ask you now a little bit about this laceration on her head, and you refer to it as a stellate laceration, is that right?
Yes,
And am I pronouncing that right, stellate?
you are.
Stellate laceration is a star-shaped complex skin tear featuring multiple arms, often caused by blunt force trauma, correct?
Correct.
So in other words, it's different from like a cut or laceration caused by like a sharp edge of a knife or something like that, correct?
Correct.
In those lacerations with a knife or sharp object, the laceration is more defined, it's more linear, yes?
Yes.
Okay. But stellate lacerations caused by, and when we say blunt force trauma, we just mean getting hit with something hard, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Stellate lacerations caused by getting hit with something hard, the skin breaks apart differently than it does from a cut with a knife, yes?
Yes.
And often there are multiple
Why in the hell are we drawing attention to the gruesome wounds that our client put on her head? Are we making the argument, well, at least he didn't use a knife or a bat? Where in the hell are we going with this?
jagged edges to the laceration that extend outward from an impact point, correct?
Yes.
There's a central impact, point of impact, and multiple edges branching out from there, which is what you saw in this case, yes?
Yes.
So to the untrained eye, it can look like multiple separate lacerations, but for those who understand stellate lacerations, there's an impact point and it branches out from there, correct?
Yes.
Jury. I know it looks like he hit her a hell of a lot of times, but consider that he only hit her once or twice, and she pulled on those wounds to make it look bad. Holy God, where are we going with this? He thought this was a good idea?
And because of the multiple branches and all the things you described about the skin and putting it back together, you thought it would best to have a surgeon stitch it back up, correct? Because I mean, you suture a lot of lacerations in the ER, but this one, it was complex because of the different arms. You thought it best to have a plastic surgeon stitch it up, yes?
It was
According to this defense attorney, I mean, you could have slapped some Band-Aids on it and she'd have been fine. I mean, did they have some duct tape and cotton balls? What the hell? What? Where? What the? He's like, yeah, I mean, like you could have stitched it up, but you were like, it's kind of complicated. Where in the hell are we going with this?
it was large, it was contaminated, and just the extent of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you said it was complex, so you thought a surgeon should stitch it up instead of you, right?
Absolutely. It needed washed out in the operating room.
Okay? And that's what happened, and then Miss Koning was discharged home the next day, correct?
Yes.
Now, you said today that, well, first of all, you're not you're a board-certified emergency medicine physician, correct?
Correct.
You're not a forensic pathologist, MD, who specializes in analyzing manner and means of injuries or death, correct?
Is this man saying you're just an ER doctor? It's not like you're a real doctor. Oh my God, where the hell did this? Honest to God, Daryl Brooks could have done a better job for this man. And he would have used the exact same defense, but at least from Daryl Brooks, it would be expected. This is a real life lawyer making these arguments. Holy God. He's also not a proctologist.
Correct.
That being said, you were asked by the prosecutors back in December about if you could tell how many strikes caused this. And you say today, you think multiple. But one of the things you said to the prosecutors when they asked you about it is you said you could not tell if the injury was from one giant strike or multiple strikes, but you anticipated it was multiple strikes. That's what you told the prosecutors, right?
Correct. It looked like multiple strikes.
Maybe one, but looked like multiple, right?
Right.
But you told them you couldn't tell if it was maybe from one giant strike, correct? That's what you told the investigator from the prosecutors, right?
On the area on the face, yes.
Yeah.
There would have to be 2 strikes if we get here and here.
Right.
So
I
at
understand
minimum.
that. Talking about they're asking about the laceration on the head.
Yes.
And to that one, you said you couldn't tell if it was from one giant strike or multiple strikes, right?
Right.
Okay, doctor, as part of your job as a physician in the emergency room, from time to time, the police who are investigating alleged criminal allegations, they ask you to fill out something called a Honolulu Police Department Physician's Report, yes?
Yes.
And in this case, you did so, right?
I did.
And the way that works is it's a form that after you see the patient, you go and you check boxes on the form, correct? And you can write in some narrative, but you check boxes, correct?
Correct.
Now, you were today qualified with no objection from us. I mean, you're an expert in emergency medicine, correct? You've been qualified as one today, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And you were an expert in emergency medicine on the date of the incident, March 24th, 2025, right? I mean, you've been doing it for almost 10 years, right?
Over 10 years, yes.
And you understand that the Honolulu Police Department relies on you in these forms to provide accurate, unbiased medical opinions related to the extent of a patient's injuries when there's a criminal investigation, correct?
Yes.
And you try your best to do so. You know it's important, so you try your best to be honest and accurate in these forms, yes?
Yes.
And isn't it true, doctor, that as it related to Ms. Koenig, when you're filling out the Honolulu Police Department physician's forms, one of the questions when you were asked under what's entitled substantial bodily injury, did the injury cause a major avulsion, laceration, or penetration of the skin? And you said yes because of the laceration, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You were also asked, did the injury cause a bone fracture? And at that point, you said unknown, testing was pending, right?
Right. We were waiting for the x-ray result.
Correct. Then you were asked, did the injury cause a serious concussion? And your answer to that was no, correct?
Correct.
You were then asked, did the injury cause a tearing, rupture, or corrosive damage to the esophagus, viscera, or other internal injuries? And again, your answer to that was no, correct?
Correct.
Then under the subsection serious bodily injury, you were asked, as in, being an expert in doing emergency medicine all these years, did the injury create a substantial risk of death? And you checked off the box no, correct?
Correct.
Then you were asked, will the injury cause any serious permanent disfigurement? And you said unclear, pending trauma team repair of wound, yes?
Yes.
Because this was on the first day she was there, right?
This was early on in the course of treatment. So
Right. Then you were asked, will the injury cause a protracted loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ? And again, you answered no, correct?
correct.
1 second.
Apparently to say it was just a boo-boo and she was exaggerating.
All right, doctor, thank you for your time today. No further questions.
Mr. Barker, any redirect?
Yes.
Come on,
Okay,
Dookie.
Dr. Goshin. Now, you were saying something about technepia earlier in your, what was that?
Tachypnea, so rapid breathing.
Okay. And how is that relevant to this, Ms. Corning?
So initially when she came in and she was evaluated by the triage nurse, she was breathing very quickly.
And you walked through essentially everything that was okay with Ms. Koenig by Mr. Otake. What was concerning about her?
The concerning thing was the amount of pain that she was having at the large laceration. So I was concerned with the injury. When we see a wound like this, we are concerned about underlying bleeding or skull fracture.
This was all stuff that the defense attorney brought up. He brought up that he brought up all the good things for his side.
Okay, Dr. Goshin, again, you were asked about everything that was okay with Ariel on the chart. What was concerning?
The concerning was the head injury. I was concerned that there was underlying injury.
The judge has been pretty good.
Was there anything in the chart? You walked through the GCS, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Was there anything about Ariel that indicated any concern over any concussion?
The headache or the symptoms that she reported, being headache, dizziness, nausea, all symptoms of a concussion.
Did the chart also indicate any vomiting?
She may have vomited prior to arrival.
Why would that be a concern?
We can see vomiting with the head injury.
Now, you were asked about your opinion that this was likely several blows.
Objection, that mistakes. The word you use, but it's fine.
Okay, rephrase.
You were asked about an opinion that you provided in December of last year about the number of blows, potentially. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you end up, what was your opinion?
My opinion was that I thought it was clear this appeared to be multiple blows, but I was not present there to be able to say that. But I mean, looking at this is multiple blows.
Okay. Why do you say that?
For the way that the laceration is, yes, there's stellate, but the whole central portion's macerated and you can be struck several times in that area. And there need to be at least 2 blows because there's lacerations on the other side of the face. So that's why it would be at minimum 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And where was the rock and debris?
It was inside the laceration.
Was it just in one little part?
It was throughout the laceration. The laceration on the left frontal skull.
Okay.
Inside the wound.
Okay. When you say throughout, that means how much?
There were multiple pieces. I couldn't even count how many.
And was it, again, just in one location?
Objection. Can we approach?
Dr. Groshin, I'm going to put State's Exhibit 25 up on the screen one more time. And if you could describe for us where in this laceration or how many different areas you observed rocks and debris.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to hand you the iPad with the laser pointer again.
And that's
Retrieve the iPad and take the exhibit down. All right, now, Dr. Grosjean, you were also asked about an HPD 13 you filled out,
yes.
and you were specifically asked about whether or not the injuries caused a substantial risk of death. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you noted that the injuries did not cause a substantial risk of death. Is that right?
Correct.
And that was a medical opinion you gave when you filled out that form, right?
Yes.
Is that, and again, what was the mechanism of the injury that you determined here?
The mechanism was blunt force trauma to the head.
Was this opinion that the injuries that Ariel suffered?
Can we approach?
It's kind of hard to gauge whether, oh.
Form about the injuries not causing substantial risk of death. That was about the resulting injuries that Ariel had. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Just very brief follow-up.
Oh, no.
Next examination. Very, very brief. Thank you, doctor. You were asked by the prosecutor what your concerns were, and when you said you're concerned about underlying injuries to the head, meaning fractures, brain bleeds, things like that, correct?
Yes,
And the CAT scans showed that there were no such fractures or brain bleeds.
Correct.
Brain bleeds, correct? Yes?
yes,
You were asked about symptoms consistent with concussion, but whatever the case may be, at least on the HPD form, when you were asked, did it cause a serious concussion, you checked off no, correct?
correct, not serious concussion.
And then lastly,
Notice the word serious in there as a qualifier, meaning that they're being very careful to put the serious in there. My guess is she had a mild concussion.
as to, again, not a forensic pathologist that specializes in,
Objection beyond the scope.
not a forensic pathologist that specializes at looking at injuries and opining on manner and means, correct?
I'm not a forensic pathologist.
Now, you said at least two hits because the skull and then the face, you mentioned, the eye, the face on the other side, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, what's the answer, Doctor?
Yeah, yes,
and again, the face one, you did a CAT scan and there was no fractures to the thin orbital bone, correct?
yes.
All right, thank you, doctor. No further questions.
Any other questions for Dr. Berkeley?
Dr. Christian, you said at least 2 impacts?
It appeared to be.
Okay, when you say at least 2, do you have an upper limit?
I don't. Multiple.
No further questions.
Anything else you want to ask Mr. Bucket?
Well, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, doctor.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's take our after recess, 10-minute recess. Ms. Official will collect just after 2:45.
They take breaks all the time, but then again, the defense attorney.
Lawful counsel of record are present. Jury back in the court. Good afternoon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Garner, state's next witness.
From the state calls Dr. Whitney Carlton at this end.
Doctor, can you stand and raise your right hand, please?
You do solemnly swear affirm that the testimony about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can have a seat.
I want beautiful long hair like that. Although I will say, when you're not used to having beautiful long hair like that, and then you have to sit down and mess with it, it is a pain in the behind, but it's beautiful.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
Could you, as you testify today, keep your face as close to the microphone as possible, maybe pull it close to you as well? Hi, and starting off, can you please state your name?
Whitney Carlton.
And Ms. Carlton, what do you do?
I'm an acute care surgeon.
Is that a doctor?
Yes.
And where do you practice?
I practice at Queens Medical Center.
And how long have you been an acute care surgeon at Queens?
5.5 years.
Are you licensed to practice medicine in the state of Hawaii?
Yes.
Are you board certified in any specialties?
I'm board certified in general surgery and surgical critical care.
What does it mean to be board certified in general?
It means that the physician has voluntarily completed a rigorous set of standards set forth by the board. Generally means you've done training in residency, passed a number of comprehensive exams, and have a commitment to continuing education.
And what does a board certification in general surgery mean?
That means that you've completed all of those requirements with a specialty in general surgery.
Maybe I should clarify. So what is general surgery?
General surgery is a practice focused on surgery of the entire body, but focused mostly on the chest and abdomen.
And you mentioned a second board certification in, what was it?
Surgical critical care.
What is surgical critical care?
It is an additional year of training that focuses on patients that are critically injured or critically ill, and it allows us to practice in the ICU.
Can you describe your training in medicine generally?
I graduated from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, and then I completed a general surgery residency. And then I came to Hawaii to complete advanced training in surgical critical care. And I'm currently assistant clinical professor of surgery at the Johnny Burns School of Medicine here in Hawaii. And I'm an active acute care surgeon at Queens.
How long have you been teaching students from JABSOM?
6.5 years.
Do you have any scientific publications?
I have a few,
Just approximate how many?
maybe 2 or 3, and as well as a couple of book chapters that are in press.
At this point, Your Honor, the state would ask that pursuant to Rule 702, Dr. Carlton be qualified to provide opinion testimony in the field of medicine with a specialty in surgery and surgical critical care.
No objection to the doctor's qualifications. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, jury, Dr. Carlton will be allowed to provide to you opinion testimony in the field of medicine with a specialty in general surgery and surgical critical care. You can proceed.
Dr. Carlton, do you agree that all your opinions that you offer today in this case will be to a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes.
Were you on duty at Queens Punch Bowl on March 24th, 2025?
Yes, I was.
On that date, were you part of something called the trauma team?
Yes.
Okay. What is the trauma team?
The trauma team is basically all of the hospital personnel that respond to trauma activations or consults in which patients have some kind of accident or trauma that require immediate evaluation.
I am the attending trauma surgeon when I'm on call for surgery or trauma surgery. So we lead the trauma team.
And saying the word trauma a lot in the medical field, in your specialty, what does trauma mean?
Trauma is just any accident or mechanism of injury that a patient could come in with injuries.
It's also bodily impact.
Yes.
Right. What type of cases do you get called in to help with as part of the trauma team?
All kinds. So everything from like a trip and a fall to moped accidents, car accidents, assaults, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, all those kind of things.
On March 24th, 2025, did you treat somebody named Ariel Koenig?
Yes, I did.
Before you treat someone, do you obtain a patient history?
Yes.
What to you is a patient history?
A patient history is kind of a prescriptive account of a patient's current presenting clinical symptoms, as well as an account of their medical history.
Why is it important to get a patient's history?
It's important for our differential diagnosis or a list of potential causes of what their complaint is, and it's important in order to come up with an individualized treatment plan for the patient.
Without going into what Ariel Koenig may have told you, was Ariel Koenig able to provide you with a history?
Yes.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Did you actually observe any injuries on Ariel Koenig yourself?
Yes.
I'm going to walk through a couple of photographs. I'm going to have you describe what injuries you observed, okay?
Okay.
Okay, publishing states exhibit number 22. It's on the screen next to you, doctor. What injuries did you observe from this view, the front of Ariel's face?
So she had ecchymosis or bruising around the eyes, and then also had a small laceration around the right eyebrow.
Now, publishing states exhibit 25. What injuries are we seeing on Ms. Koenig in this photo?
So this is a photo of what I would call a large, complex stellate laceration of the scalp that extends onto the face, meaning it's kind of star-shaped with a lot of jagged edges, large and complex, meaning it goes through a number of layers on the scalp.
As a surgeon, what are the difficulties in repairing this? Or are there any difficulties in repairing this kind of laceration?
There can be.
Okay, and what are those difficulties?
So in this case, and in general, I would be very concerned about the potential healing of the jagged edges. Creating those kind of skin bridges or skin strips decreases the blood supply. And so even when you suture it back together, it can have a high chance of necrosis or dying.
And this is really interesting because I think, again, the defense has been very, very minimizing of these injuries. And for her to explain the complexity of how to put this back together, how to, give her a functional scalp line, how to give her, the ability to feel attractive, and good about herself, to where she can wear certain hairstyles and things like that. There's a lot of pressure on her, not just for pain and the health of just the medical, physical help, but she also has to be thinking, of the psychological health of trying to make this as, normal looking as possible and give her as much function as possible.
Creating a larger wound. And then there was also a really high risk of infection, just given how big the wound was and the stated mechanism.
And what was the stated mechanism?
Ariel said she was hit with a rock.
I'm going to take the states exhibit 25 off the screen now. Were there any injuries to Ariel's extremities?
Yes, she had bruising of the left hand that turned out to be a distal phalangeal tuft fracture.
Okay. I'll jump back to that in just a moment after I ask a couple questions. Was any imaging done to Ariel?
Yes.
Did you review that imaging yourself?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what type of imaging was it?
So we obtained a CT scan of the head, the face, and the cervical spine, and we also did an X-ray of the left hand.
And did you review the results of all this imaging yourself?
Yes, I did.
Was there any skull fracture?
No.
Any face fracture?
No.
Any fractures to any other parts of Ariel's body?
She did have the left thumb distal phalangeal tuft fracture.
Okay, and then could you explain for us what the left thumb distal phalangeal tuft fracture is?
It's basically a broken bone in the fingertip.
When you say a broken
Yes.
bone, was there any displacement?
It was mildly displaced.
And what does that mean?
So bones are basically in a straight line. And so when you fracture it, you end up with at least two pieces. The alignment or the displacement is how much in a line that bone stays, or if it's displaced and out of line.
And what does mildly displaced mean then with regards to the injury you observed on Ariel?
It means that the bone was a little bit out of line.
As a result of your examination, did you recommend any sort of treatment for Ariel?
Yes, I did.
And what did you recommend as the treatment?
Well, she needed the large wound on her head washed out and cleaned and then repaired. Due to the risk that we talked about, I recommended a specialty consultation with a facial surgeon who was on call. For the hand fracture, she needed treatment with a hand surgeon. And then just due to the injuries and the events, I recommended admission to the hospital.
So when you say you referred her to a separate type of surgeon, what type of surgeon did you refer her to?
It's our on-call face trauma surgeon. I believe he's an OMFS surgeon,
And what does OMFS mean?
oral maxillofacial surgeon. They specialize in kind of we call it like a plastic surgery type surgeon.
I think you've gotten there a little bit so far, doctor, but during your treatment of Ariel, were there any risks of complications from her injuries?
Yes.
Okay. What was
Objection, Your Honor. An approach.
The defense is fighting these things, coming in, and I know that they are bad. They're bad facts, but I wouldn't be objecting to all of this. This makes it look like you have something to hide, and again, it's just not a good look to fight the obvious wounds.
Okay. Dr. Carlton, did you put in your report that your encounter with Ariel Koenig required a moderate level of medical decision-making?
I believe that was in the progress note, yes.
Okay. What does that mean?
That is essentially for billing practices, meaning the type of encounter required that type of billing.
And under that subsection, there was a sentence that said, this includes the moderate risk of complication and/or morbidity/mortality of patient management.
Yes.
Can you explain what that sentence meant?
That means for any kind of physician in a similar position who encountered a similar patient, what kind of risks there would be. In this case, moderate.
Okay. So moderate risks of morbidity/mortality.
Yes, treatment and morbidity and mortality.
One more question. Going backwards a little bit, Dr. Carlton, why did you refer Ariel to a specialty face surgeon?
Just due to the complexity of the laceration and my concerns about infection and potential wound healing, I thought it would be better for the wound and for her to have the specialty surgeon on board in case of complications from the fixation.
Okay. And the fixation, just like regular stitches?
Well, it was done in a couple of layers, but regular stitches.
Did everything you testified to occur in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Good afternoon, doctor.
Hi.
Just a very few questions. You said you went to medical school and then did your residency and then got board certified, correct?
Yes, and board certified in general surgery.
Okay. And that took you many years to do, correct?
Yes,
A lot of hard work that went into becoming a doctor, correct?
it can be.
And becoming board certified, right?
Yes.
Just a few questions.
Are we catching this man in flirt mode? Because this is about as non-aggressive as he's been. Like, this is the most pleasant this man has been to a witness. Is he trying to get some digits?
In the charting, it indicated that the patient denied LOC. Does LOC stand for loss of consciousness?
It does.
Okay. So the patient denied loss of consciousness during the incident, yes?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the term stellate laceration. Those kind of by their nature are complex. They're not caused by a sharp object, blunt force trauma, kind of impact, and a star-shaped spreads, yes?
Generally.
Okay. Now, the next day on March 25th, based on your examination and dealing with her, you cleared her for discharge from the hospital the next day, correct?
Correct.
And I'd imagine that's not something you would have done unless you believe it was safe for her to leave the hospital the very next day, correct?
Correct.
Doctor, sometimes in working in the hospital, you have to fill out, or you're asked to fill out an HPD, Honolulu Police Department Physician's Report form, correct?
The HPD 13?
Yeah.
That's,
And that is the number, so it seems like you're familiar with it.
Yes.
I filled it out a bunch of times, correct?
yes.
And you try your best to be honest and accurate and unbiased as you go about filling it out, correct?
Yes.
And in this case involving Ms. Koenig, you did fill out such a form, yes?
I believe so.
Would seeing your form help you refresh your memory?
Sure.
Okay. 1 second. Your Honor, may I approach with D81?
Yes.
Doctor, do me a favor, just look through that, read it to yourself, and let me know when you're done. I just have a couple questions and then I'll be done.
It's very popular in the Szechuan Valley. Everywhere you go, there's a Whitney.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna come back and get it from you. Doctor, that is your signature on that second page, correct?
Correct.
In response to the question, did the injury cause a major avulsion, laceration, or penetration of the skin under substantial body injury? You checked yes, and that's because of the laceration on the scalp, correct?
Correct.
Did the injury cause a serious concussion? You checked no to that, correct?
Correct.
Did the injury cause a tearing, rupture, or corrosive damage of the esophagus, viscera, or other internal organs? You checked no to that, correct?
Correct.
What is a viscera?
Viscera is an organ.
Okay. Under the serious bodily injury portion, did the injury create a substantial risk of death? You checked the box no, correct?
Correct.
Will the injury cause any serious permanent disfigurement? You checked the box no, correct?
Correct.
Will the injury cause a protracted loss or impairment of the function of any bodily member or organ? You checked the box no, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for your time, doctor. No further questions.
Mr. Barner, any reader? Yes, please.
Dr. Carlton, on that HPD 13, you were just asked about, you checked a box that said the injuries did not cause a substantial risk of death. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. That comment or that opinion that you gave was about the resulting injuries that Ariel had. Is that right?
Yes, that's a retrospective look at the injuries.
Okay. That is not an opinion about how much. Is that right?
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach?
Objection, Your Honor. This is terrible for my client. He looks like a real douche. The judge is like, your client is a real douche. I can't stop reality, counselor. How did Ramathorn get in there? Oh my God, they sent Ramathorn down to Hawaii because he asked for a liter of Coke too many times?
Dr. Carlton, isn't it true that you are not providing any opinion today about the mechanism of the injury?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Wataki, any follow-ups?
Nothing further, doctor. Thank you.
Dr. Carlton, thank
Now, actually, this is where I have to say goodbye to you guys. I have to go get the young ferals. But what I will tell you is for the first time in a long time, we are going to have a Mow After Dark, and it's just going to be in horizontal. I'm not even dealing with that. But we are going to look at, again, it's not going to be for everyone, but I am at 7 p.m. tonight going to watch the first day in where the let me pull up the article or give you a little taste of what we'll be looking at tonight, just because to give you a little bit of an idea, because I do want you to be aware of what we're probably going to be looking at. 7 p.m. Eastern time, but we are going to be looking at the Athena strand. I refuse to use the jackass's name, but we will be looking at that. Now, he has pled guilty to the unaliving of little Athena, but now the jury will be looking at punishment. Now, it was expected to take several weeks, but since he has pled guilty, the trial has immediately gone into the sentencing phase, but the jurors are still required to decide whether he is going to go to Old Sparky, colloquially, or whether he's going to get life in prison. Now, I will warn you that we will be seeing stills, we will be watching body cam videos, and the prosecutors have said that they will be playing audio recordings of when he unalived her. So do be very careful of your mental health. This is going to be a rough one, but this little girl fought her ass off. Um, I know they have audio of the event, JKD Buck. So do be careful. I will be putting this in the evenings. It is, I completely understand. Completely understand. Protect your mental health. But this little girl fought for her life, and I will be interested. Honestly, I would just vote old Sparky on my own. Uh, but that is me. So again, do protect your mental health. We will be watching this, but do protect your mental health. And absolutely, that's why it's after dark. I am going to be using curse words. Um, I will not. Uh, and there might be times that I'm going to have to take a puppy kitten break. But this was one that I am glad at least he spared the family the trial. Why we don't just send him to Lord Sparky, I don't know. Uh, yeah. So, like I said, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. That's why I did put it on after dark, and it will be a more ragey mo. So do be prepared. It's not going to be, flippin' flapjack mo. She will be using the F word. So, that being said, I did purposely stay away from this case because it was one that I was going to cover. And it is interesting to watch when you know that it is going to be more a punishment. So he is not going to escape justice no matter what. But it is not going to be an easy trial to watch. So have a wonderful. I will be starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So 7 p.m. It is 1:46 p.m. my time right now. So at 7 p.m. my time, we will be starting this. Now, we probably won't get through all of day one. And then tomorrow, there will be no mornings with Mo because I have to do taxes. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that that's going to happen. Um, So I will have that. I did set that up. But like I said, that one is going to be a lot rougher trial. Even though we know he's guaranteed to never go out and free again, it's still going to be a rough trial. Um, so do do be mindful of yourself if you are watching this because we are going to be exposed to some not so good things. We will do puppy kitten breaks. We will do that kind of thing. And this might not be an every night thing. With these harder trials, we might need to take breaks a little bit. But definitely, if you want to join me, you are welcome. But do be mindful of your mental health. And I will give you a warning at the start of the stream. And then if I'll kind of do a cursory watch through. Um, while I wait, so I can give you guys, heads up if there is anything coming on at least the first day of trial when he pled and all of that, that I can kinda give you guys a heads up for, okay? So that's what I will be doing as I go to pick up the ferals with my earbuds, and like I said, I appreciate you guys' support, but that doesn't mean you have to watch every single one of my streams. If there's a trial that you just can't touch, protect yourself. You are more important than a subscribe or a view, so take care of you. I will see you guys tonight. I'm gonna go pick up the ferals and dust myself off of the 900 pounds of cat fur that Thor left on me. Uh, I do like sunflowers. Yes. Yes, according to his defense, he alleges that he abducted Athena because he accidentally bumped into her and was afraid that he would get in trouble for bumping into her. Um, that is his story. But like I said, take care of yourselves. I will probably, like I said, I will be having an adult beverage. It will be, a little bit more of a blue show, if you will. So it's not going to be the mornings with Mo. I will be a little bit more cursy, but just, make sure that you're taking care. Okay, you guys? Bye.